Aquarius is one of the most beautiful and most powerful of the zodiacs, so why is she trembling in fear, saying that if he gets there, everyone is screwed? A few days ago, Yang Wei, the saint of the ram, considered extremely powerful, was killed by a man who shouldn't exist. All that is known is that it was a completely one-sided fight. And if not even a zodiac like him could do anything, that means it could only have been another one of the 12. But which of the zodiacs would be killing the others? The protagonist finishes off Yang and thanks him for helping him get stronger, since he has 10 more targets to kill. The 12 zodiacs were the peak of human strength, the ones chosen by the gods to protect humanity, but none of them wanted to eradicate the creatures, since they would lose their privileges and fame. The plan was always to do just enough, but among the 12 there was someone with a different plan. Li Jian was by far the strongest, a combat addict who wanted to put an end to all of this. That's why when the group gathered for the hardest mission, the Crimson Eye, everyone trembled and said it was impossible. Aquarius fell to the ground wetting her panties. Meanwhile, Li Jian faced the boss head-on and jumped into the attack asking for backup. But when he looked back, everyone was running away. With no way to distract the boss, he was forced to face it alone. And so the endless battle began. Li Jian didn't know the absurd number of creatures that existed there, and time kept passing more and more. While fighting, he wondered if anyone would really come back, not even to check whether he had died or not. With no options, he pushed forward, until after 2 decades trapped in the hardest dungeon, and even losing an arm, he finally reached the last mob. But after finishing it off, the entire place began to collapse. Being buried alive, he thought this was a bitter end. All those who betrayed him were probably living a perfect life, while he was going to die there, abandoned. With that, Li Jinan's life comes to an end. The city has been ruined by calamities. 2 young men are running for their lives. One yells, "Run! Didn't I tell you not to go that way?" The other snaps back, "How was I supposed to know? Today was supposed to be safe. How could I guess a high-level calamity would show up?" A horned dog-like monster and several others chase after them. One of the boys starts crying, "We're screwed. The fortune teller said I'd meet an unbelievable monster today. I should have listened." Then one of the beasts jumps in and lands right between them, forcing them to scatter. One boy falls to the ground in tears, while the other gets surrounded and says, "Damn it. If Ligam had survived the Devil's Tower, something like this wouldn't be a problem." He looks toward the Devil's Tower, the same tower Ligam entered long ago with the 12 saints. Then its gates begin to open and a huge light appears before them. In an instant, that light covers everything and explodes across the area. The 2 boys shield themselves from the blast. A little later, the damage from the tower's explosion is clear. "Hey, what just happened?" "I don't know, Jimmy. There's a human coming out of the collapsing tower." "A human?" They stare in disbelief. Far off in the wreckage, a lone figure stands in the dust. "How dare those bastards stab me in the back and throw me into a trap? You're all dead. I'm coming for every last one of you." Amid the rubble, the 2 boys lie half buried, wondering what happened and who that person is. Then one of the dog-like monsters gets crushed by our protagonist. He stomps its head in, and the boys can't believe those are orange-class calamities. The kind even high-rank awakened ones struggle to beat. To him, they're nothing. More like ants than monsters. Ligam grabs the rest of them with a grin, standing over the ones he already defeated. Then he glances to the side and vanishes in the same instant. Suddenly, he's right in front of the boys, leaving them frozen in shock. They stumble back screaming, wait, why are you attacking us? Please let us go." Ligam pauses, "Wait, you're humans? Good. Then the path is clear now, right?" The 2 can only breathe in relief. "Whew, we're saved. Did you see that guy come out of the tower? Isn't that insane?" The other shakes his head. "What are you talking about? Nobody can come out of that tower alive. Maybe some accident happened and he ended up here when the tower collapsed." But while they were saying that, a shadow rose behind them. Both of them froze. Another monster was staring right at them. Our protagonist just turned toward it, completely calm. One of them panicked. "No way, that's the wolf boss. Jung, run!" Meanwhile, he kept looking at the beast like it was nothing. Then the monster started building energy in its mouth. A second later, it fired, a huge blast straight at them. The 2 boys could only brace themselves. The attack tore through everything in its path. After a while, when it finally stopped, they looked around in shock. "Did he just protect us?" Our protagonist cursed under his breath, then jumped forward and slammed a hand down on the wolf boss. "You're just a filthy mutt." He forced it down and threw a punch, and the impact alone crushed the wolf boss completely. The 2 young men could only stare. Then our protagonist landed with a grin, and the area around them was left in ruins. The boss already beaten. He stood there calmly, looking at the 2 boys while they thanked God for still being alive. Now they really thought it was over. Then he called out, "Hey, you 2. They jumped and answered at once, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go buy me some food. I'm starving." They just stared at him, and he looked a little awkward. "Oh, and clothes too. I need something new to wear." The scene shifts, and now they're inside a small shop, while our protagonist tears through plate after plate of food. The boys are stunned by the bill. He ate the same as spending 10,000 reais, enough food for 120 people. When they say they didn't have much money, he casually says he held back. Looking at the pile of empty dishes, that holding back was insane. One of them blurts out, "What do you mean held back?" He answers, "Weren't you the ones who said you'd pay for whatever I wanted after I saved your lives?" Then he adds, "Bring me another plate of..." They cut him off in panic, saying they don't have money to pay for more. Then one of them asks, Jung, what are you? A disciple? A divine captain? And what were you doing near the tower? He replies, what do you mean? I just came out of the tower, then I ran into you two. They stare at him. You came out of the tower? But he brushes past that. Forget it. There's something I want to ask you. You look normal, so why can I feel magic power coming from you? One of them explains that he's a disciple. Then they ask if our protagonist is one too, someone who awakened through a god's blessing. Hearing that, he scoffs. Those trash gods? Why would I be grateful to those bastards? But then he pauses. He catches his reflection in a spoon and goes still in shock. A mirror. Give me a mirror now. A worker points one out and he rushes over so fast he knocks everything off the table. He starts pulling off his shirt and stares at his own face. Wait, what? My whole body recovered? He keeps staring at his reflection in disbelief. Then he remembers how ruined he was inside the tower, covered in scars, missing flesh, half his head gone. Those wounds should have been almost impossible to heal, not without risking his power. But now he notices something else. His left arm is back. And what's this strange mark? On his hand there's a circular snake symbol. Suddenly, the mark starts glowing stronger and a wave of pain hits him so hard that his veins bulge as he grabs his arm. Then system windows begin appearing. You experienced death. You obtained an impossible achievement. Your previous stats will be transferred to your new body. All tower achievements will be converted into XP. You acquired a divine skill. All unique skills and traits from your past life have been inherited and converted. You can now use the power of Ophiuchus. A snake symbol appears behind our protagonist while the pain keeps tearing through him. Then all of a sudden his consciousness starts drifting away to somewhere else. He sees his spiritual sea floating among countless galaxies, and in front of him is a giant snake watching him. Our protagonist slowly reaches out his hand, and when he touches it, a light begins shining from both of them. Then suddenly he's back in the diner asking himself, what just happened? One of the boys rushes over. Ryung, are you okay? Just for context, Ryung seems to be the name they're calling our protagonist, but his real name is Ligung. Still shaken, he asks, what? You didn't see that snake just now? They look confused. What are you talking about? We didn't see any snake. All we saw was you stand up, start taking off your clothes, and stare at yourself in the mirror. Then you grabbed your fist and started screaming like a crazy person. So that means other people can't see it. As he stares at his hand thinking that over, the boys just keep watching him, thinking he gets weirder the longer they look. Then our protagonist feels that energy again and another system window appears. You have become the owner of Ophiuchus. More windows pop up in front of him. Ligang, 13th seat of the gods, owner of the seat of Ophiuchus, awakened name, the man who crushes all creation. More windows explain his abilities, and one of them says he gained F rank super regeneration. Any damage to your body will be restored. Your body has been renewed. A temporary penalty applies. Physical ability reduced by 50%. Time remaining 1032 hours. So his physical change came from that skill. He's never heard of anything like this from the other saints. On top of that, he can't feel any god's presence. No matter what happened, his body is healed now, so that part isn't bad. The real question is what he should do next. Then he remembers the men who pushed him away and left him there to die against the boss. Now he only wants one thing, to get rid of every saint who stabbed him in the back. Just thinking about what he'll do to those bastards makes him excited. The boy watching him gets scared, seeing that look on his face. Then the scene changes to the site of the explosion, where people are taking pictures while medics and onlookers crowd around. Someone asks, is it true the unbreakable devil's tower collapsed? Another answers, yeah, the whole world's gonna lose its mind over this. That tower was a symbol of this place. Then they wonder if this was the work of Ligom's followers, or maybe disciples who hate other disciples. Someone points at the monsters nearby. Even high-ranked saints would struggle against beasts like those. So who could have killed all of them and destroyed the devil's tower? Then someone asks, do you think Ligong survived and came back? The answer is simple. They don't know, but the whole thing feels wrong. After that, the scene shifts to a building where a large group has gathered for a press conference. Cameras flash as reporters shout questions. Yang Wei, please tell us what you think happened. Do you believe there's any chance Ligong survived? The heavyset man from the beginning of the story stays quiet, only watching everyone around him. His name is Yang Wei, the saint of the Aries constellation. All he says is, I have no comment. Then he turns and leaves, looking uneasy, while the crowd keeps shouting for answers. What do you mean you have no comment? The next scene jumps to his car, where he starts smashing things in anger. Damn it, Ligong, 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 Ligong. Everyone wants to know about that bastard. How many times have I heard his name just today? Then he wonders if Ligong might really be alive. He remembers our protagonist's broken body from the past and asks himself if he could have survived 20 years inside that tower. No, that should be impossible. There should have been thousands of demonic beasts in there, and every one of them was high rank. It was already a miracle they got out without him. Learning they killed the Scarlet Horus. So how could he possibly survive in a place like that? His body had already been badly damaged by the backlash of his own powers, and unlike them, he never had the gods' protection. But then what if he really did come back to life? He tries to stop thinking about it, but if Ligong truly returned, then everything is over. The scene cuts back to our protagonist checking a phone. Just like I thought, I'll start by crushing that bastard first. Then the story moves to an airport. As one of the planes finishes landing, a man steps off and someone greets him. Welcome. It's an honor to meet one of the 12 constellations, Mr. Hugo Otters. He's the blonde guy from the beginning of the story, the one who ate fried chicken with our protagonist. He's dressed in full style here, and once again we're told that he is the Sagittarius constellation, Hugo Otters. He asks, "Where's the Prime Minister?" They answer, "He's waiting at his residence. Your car is ready over there." All right then, let's go. People nearby whisper about how majestic he looks. To them, that's what a true chosen one looks like. Once he's inside the car, Hugo sits there thinking. Then he glances over and sees his phone vibrating. It's those reporters again. I can't believe people are still spreading stories that Li Gong is alive. Then he notices an unknown number. It's already been more than 20 years. He picks up the phone, turns it over, and keeps thinking. He remembers what they told him before, "You're going to die tomorrow." Then he remembers our protagonist smiling with his face all messed up, saying, "Taisuke, why do you have so little faith in me? When we attacked the Devil's Tower, I left the tower and fought the disaster monsters outside at Li Gong's request. I hoped my premonition was wrong and that Jian would come back safely." But then he showed up badly injured, asking what happened to him. The saints who entered the tower with the protagonist abandoned him and came back with only the head of the Scarlet Eyes. Because that feat was accepted, the 12 saints, including me, were praised as heroes and gained power from it. Later in the hospital, he still couldn't accept that Jian was dead, so he kept asking people to search for him. But this greedy bastard cut him off. "Hugo, it's too late. It was Jean-Louis Morang, the saint of cancer." He reminded him how many disasters came out of that tower, and said it was stupid to think Jian could have survived. Then he coldly told Hugo that if he cared so much, he should go look for MC himself. But if he did that, the number of saints would drop to 11. Hugo could only stand there, frustrated and helpless. Back in the present, he was still lost in thought, telling himself that no matter how strong Jian was, surviving would have been impossible, and after all this time, it was too late now for him. Then someone called out, "Sir Hugo, it's a call from the Prime Minister." The call flashed on the screen. Hugo answered, and the Prime Minister quickly asked if he could hear him. He asked if Hugo had seen the news that the Devil Tower had collapsed. Hugo brushed it off as the same old story. He apologized but said that if this was another request to search for Jian, he would refuse. To him, the protagonist died in the Devil Tower that day. Whatever was happening there now was probably the work of MC's followers, and if this was just being used to win votes, the Prime Minister cut him off. "No, that's not it." He said South Korea had just received urgent news. A little while ago that line got a call. Hugo paused. "What line?" "The private hotline made only for Jian." The moment Hugo heard that, he froze. He shouted, asking if it was true, then started hitting the poor driver in panic. "Stop the car! Stop the car!" The driver hurried to obey. He slammed on the brakes at once. Then Hugo realized something. Maybe the call he got earlier was connected. His phone showed 30 missed calls and a message. Seeing that, he went pale. He quickly called the number back. As soon as it connected, a voice said, "Hey Tyson, I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you." That hit Hugo like a shock. Then he smiled through the disbelief. The way he talked, it really might be him. He immediately ordered the driver to turn the car around and head back to the airport. The driver hesitated because of Hugo's schedule, but Hugo snapped and told him to go to the airport now. The scene shifts back to the little shop, where Jian jokes that Tyson has grown up and even improved his calling skills. One of the boys asks who he was calling, and he casually says it was just some guy. Then he points out that this thing is a cell phone, and says it's pretty interesting. He entered the tower in 2005, so if it's 2025 now, the world has changed a lot. The boy is stunned that this is his first time using a cell phone. He explains that with it you can use the internet and check news and videos too. Jian perks up at that, so he can search for news about the protagonist, and yes, even the top trending stories. A bunch of articles pop up on the screen. MC quietly looks through them while the boy watches in amazement. Then Jian notices the comments. Some people say it's impossible he's back, while others insist that if he were here, he'd be strong enough to take over the whole world. Another commenter calls him trash, if he's anything like the 12 Saints, and the replies turn into a full-on insult war. The comment section turns into total chaos. The protagonist gets so mad he nearly crushes the phone, and the poor kid begs him not to break it. He's furious that those bastards are the ones being credited for killing Scarlet Eyes. They were scared out of their minds back then, and now they're trying to pin everything on him. He tries to brush it off, saying it changes nothing for him, but then he remembers something. That thought stops him cold. He searches more and finds a special report about what happened after Jian's death. Back then, MC had decided that if he died, all his property would be donated to orphanages and school foundations. Now he wonders if that really happened, so he keeps searching. Instead, the news says the 12 Saints mourned his death and praised his sacrifice. It also claims he left all his belongings, including his relics, to the 12 Saints, so his wish to save the world could live on through them. All 12 Saints accepted it, except Hugo, the Saint of Sagittarius. So basically, those bastards stole everything. The protagonist snaps, crushes the boy's phone, and swears he'll destroy all of them, including those worthless gods. The poor kid drops to the floor crying over his broken phone, while MC thanks it for its service and is at least glad the call history was erased. The kid is completely heartbroken. Meanwhile, Jian thinks about what to do next if he wants people to know he's back. His current face looks nothing like it did 20 years ago. Even if he went around claiming he was him, people would just think he was crazy. So until he can torture every last saint, it's better to stay quiet. The boy is still crying over the phone when a system window suddenly appears. It warns him, "Be careful, someone is watching you." A red mist starts forming around him, and Jian immediately recognizes the energy. As he gets up, the boy asks where he's going. The protagonist just says he's going out for some air. Once outside, strange burning goat-like creatures and flying monsters appear. He recognizes them right away. Avatars, they were the lackeys of the Ares sanctuary, and the system confirms it. The Avatars are setting up a barrier in Ares' name, weakening the influence of the other constellations. They want him to offer tribute. Jian clicks his tongue. Those bastards serve the gods, yet humans are the ones who have to pay. He cracks his fingers and gets ready to fight, but then someone nearby starts complaining in the background. Ligum, seriously? The guy says he's heard so many stories about Jian that he's sick of hearing that name. They were talking trash about MC right in front of him. The woman with him joins in, saying the news won't stop talking about it, and she's already tired of it too. He just watches them. He wonders why the media is giving so much attention to someone who's supposed to be a ghost from the past. Then he notices something else. There's a badge on the man's shirt. The two boys recognize it right away. They're people from the Gemini sanctuary. One of the boys quickly tells Jian to come back, warning him not to start trouble with them. But the protagonist keeps staring and the guy notices, "What are you looking at?" Then he tells him to get lost. The boys panic, thinking they're in trouble now. The man takes a drag, then blows smoke right into Jian's face. He mocks him and says if MC has a problem, he should do something about it. Before it goes further, the woman tries to pull him away, saying they should leave before he wets himself. Even then, the guy pats his head like he's nothing. He keeps throwing out insults, and the woman laughs along. Then he sneers, asking why people like such a weak saint so much. He even questions whether the protagonist was ever really a saint at all. That finally pushes the protagonist over the edge. One of the boys nervously reminds him these people are disciples from Gemini, above A rank. MC ignores that and calls them cowards. The guy turns and asks if that was aimed at him. Jian fires back with a harsher insult, making it very clear it was. So the man walks straight up to him and demands he repeat himself, shocked that a normal person with no mana would dare talk like that. He doesn't bother answering. He just flicks the guy on the forehead. That one flick sends him flying back unconscious. He crashes hard, causing a huge explosion, and the woman is left in shock. The two boys can't believe what they just saw. Jian only smiles at the scene in front of him. Now the woman is truly scared. The protagonist calls her out, saying he knew what she was trying to do behind his back. She had already formed fire magic in her hand and tried to attack him from behind, but it was a pointless move. Jian responds with another flick, sending her flying too and smashing through everything in her path. She drops to the ground and the boys are left speechless. They ask how he can use abilities in the middle of the street. Jian tells them they're mistaken. If he'd really used a skill, those two would be dead. So he took down A-rank disciples with nothing but his bare hands. Then he crouches beside the man and looks closely at his necklace. He rips it off and says he knew something felt strange when he hit him. This wasn't a divine artifact, so why did these bastards have one? Only saints were supposed to possess those. One of the boys realizes Jian really doesn't know anything and starts explaining. Decades ago, humanity nearly went extinct because of the calamities. People survived thanks to divine beings and the saints they chose. But since only 12 people couldn't protect the whole world, the saints gathered followers and built divine cathedrals. Those who received power through the saints and awakened became known as disciples. As he explains, an example of someone showing off that kind of power appears on screen. Their ranks match their power. At the top are the saints SS rank, the ones chosen by the divine beings. Right under them are the SS rank 10 stars, seen as future saints. Then the S rank divine captains, the strongest disciples who lead the others. After that come A rank disciples, then B rank, and so on. The divine beings get stronger through the faith of their disciples. That's why the cathedrals hold all kinds of events and contests to pull more people to their side. The disciples they choose even get gifts from the divine beings. As the explanation goes on, Jian looks around at the treasures on display. He realizes all of this happened during the 20 years he was gone. Then someone calls out for him to look. When MC turns, those goat-like figures are there again. At the same time, the system gives him a warning. The House of Riches, Greed, and Ares are enjoying what's happening. They want him to kill the woman and the man too. They want blood. They even promise him a useful reward if he beats both of them, and the boy panics. He says Jian has drawn the attention of the House of the Gods. They're like shadows of the divine beings, so going against them is the same as going against the gods themselves. The boy tells him to do what they said, but he just smiles and keeps talking. He says he was wondering why Yang's idiots were in a place like this. Now he gets it. They were trying to feed that filthy pig. For the god's sake, he really hasn't changed at all. Then Jian starts drawing out his power. He stomps the ground, and a huge blue shockwave rips through the area and slams into all those floating goat creatures. The boys shield themselves from the blast of light. Then all that red smoke is wiped away completely. How dare you stand against me? The House of Ares runs, and the barrier disappears too. That Hyung definitely isn't normal. Then Jian brings up the thug on the ground. He asks if that guy was really a disciple of Gemini. The answer is yes. They belong to the most powerful divine cathedral in the country. It's an elite group packed with influential people. Jian immediately cuts to what matters. They must be loaded, right? The boy just stares, confused. After all, everything the guy had on was expensive. So the protagonist goes right in, saying it's looting time. And to him, looting is the best part. Later that night, they finally arrive and MC groans that the day took forever. The boys start explaining where they live. One points out his apartment on the second floor, while the other says he lives down the next block. They thank Jian for saving them and getting them home safely. Then they just stand there, waiting. Jian yawns and asks if they're not going inside. He's tired and clearly not joking around. Next thing, they're inside. Jian takes off his shirt and starts cutting his hair. Once he's done, he says it finally looks right. Now he's got style again. Jian gives him a thumbs up, impressed, and asks if he really cut it himself. The protagonist gets a little embarrassed. He explains that in the past, the side effects of his powers made every strand of hair precious. He could practically go bald from a strong breeze. That makes him remember how miserable he looked before, half bald and broken down. Now he can hardly believe his luck. Even his hair is back to normal. Then he suddenly pauses. Why is there a calamity inside this house? He instantly smacks the tiny bug. It turns to dust and the boy freaks out. Normally even pros couldn't kill one bare-handed. But it's not just one. More are coming, and Jian wonders what these things are seeing in him. Someone asks if he's giving off an aura that attracts calamities. MC shuts that down. Normally that means something in the house is drawing them in. The boy stares at him. Jian says it's probably because of the evil relics in the house. The boy argues that they were gifts from a saint. Even if they aren't his, he says they were still blessed items. He answers by smashing one on the spot. The boy drops to the floor in despair, while the protagonist calls it disgusting. Then he points things out one by one. That mask is a divine relic used to monitor its owner. The music box steals personal information, and the clock attracts calamities. The poor kid looks crushed. Jian gets furious. Those rotten saints didn't just steal his money. They're selling cursed relics to people and taking their information too. Just thinking about it makes him mad. The boy, stunned by MC's anger, is told to throw all of it away. But outside, someone has just arrived and hears all the yelling. Inside, Jian is standing there while the boy cries and clings to him. The newcomer walks in and looks around, completely confused. He asks who he is, and the nervous boy blurts out, "Sungjiao." That instantly sets him off. He snaps that he's the owner of the house, idiot, and starts releasing his power. The story then shifts to Ares' sanctuary, at Yang's residence. He's shocked to hear that the Korean avatars have disappeared. The report says the whole Korean branch is in chaos. Yang can't believe it. An avatar is a direct servant of the gods. Only an extremely powerful awakened could drive them back. So he orders his men to contact the other saints and ask if they had anything to do with it. They obey, but add that they still haven't been able to reach Hugo's sanctuary. Yang brushes it off, saying Hugo probably went to the UK to play mercenary again. But then he hears that as soon as Hugo arrived in the UK, he changed course. That makes Yang ask where he went. The answer, Korea. Hearing that, Yang starts getting nervous. Hugo used to be close friends with Jian. So Yang wonders if this is tied to the rumors that the protagonist survived, which would mean he remembers MC from the past, horribly disfigured. Did he really come back? Damn it. He refuses to believe it and hurls a chandelier at a servant who did nothing wrong. Then he demands every detail they have. They report that near the place where one avatar vanished, a disciple of Gemini was found unconscious in the street. According to witnesses, he had picked a fight with a very handsome man. A handsome man? Then Yang decides it can't be Jian. The he knew had a ruined face, but either way, things have been going badly lately. It's still possible the protagonist is alive and has returned. For some reason, the avatars in Korea are disappearing. And even worse, they recently failed to defeat the Spider Queen too. If this keeps up, Yang could lose his position, so he orders them to prepare his jet. They ask if he plans to go himself. He says yes. He needs to see it with his own eyes, so he heads out with his men. The scene shifts back to Korea, to a hospital tied to Gemini. The guy who messed with John earlier is still unconscious. A furious old man demands to know who did this to his grandson. The thug lies there in the hospital bed, while someone says not to worry. That's why Gemini Sanctuary sent the president. He's the S-Class Gemini Knight, Frozen Min Sung-hun. Back at the apartment, the newcomer asks if they met John today in the Devil's Tower. He hears that Memsi handled all the calamities alone, with no weapon, and the boy keeps nervously agreeing. Then comes the next question. Did he really knock out an A-Class too? The boy confirms that part as well. Now the owner loses it, saying none of this makes sense. Jian even destroyed every relic in the house. He calmly replies that they were all fake, including the one in front of him. The redhead, ready to explode, demands to know what sect the protagonist belongs to. But the protagonist just smiles and says he doesn't need one. At this point, the guy is seconds from blowing up. So he asks which god MC serves, and MC answers that he serves none of those idiot gods, only himself. They keep going. What awakened class is he? He casually says, a worker maybe. Then comes the last question, his name. The protagonist answers, my name is the protagonist. The moment Sungjae hears that, he starts gathering power, while the other boy tries to calm him down. But Sungjae is done listening, MC barged into someone else's home without permission, destroyed all the relics, and now dares to use the name Jian as a huge aura rises behind him. He shouts, asking how he could imitate him. Jiwon yells that this is their house and asks if Sungjae is trying to wreck everything. Then a system message appears for the protagonist. The magic power of the Gemini Temple is being released. MC is actually excited. Looks like he's about to study the whole place. Another window pops up, asking to activate a skill. It locks onto Cheon Sungjae of the House of Gemini Awakened Class A. Title, One Who Punishes Possessed Abilities. Witch's Stake, Rank S. Ice Capsule Seals, Rank A. Traits, Genius, Violent, Stubborn, Obsessed, and Idle Admirer. His Genius trait gives a big boost to learning abilities. Jian notes that Sungjae is already using high-level summons at a young age, so that Genius trait clearly isn't for show. Meanwhile, Sungjae keeps powering up his giant summon. The other boy panics and yells for him to run. He warns that Cheon Sungjae is an A-class awakened from Gemini Sanctuary. On top of that, he's a total Jian fanatic. Then he shouts at Ji-woo to get out too, unless he wants to get beaten up along with him. While the guy was still yelling, the protagonist suddenly showed up right behind him. He warned him not to play with fire, then got his finger ready. Just as he started to turn around, MC flicked him in the forehead, and the guy went flying. A moment later, the other boy panics, saying this idiot is going to burn down not just the house but the whole building. By then, the kid in the back is still freaking out and rambling. The redhead drops to the floor unconscious. The boy nervously asks if Cheon Sungjae is dead. Jian says no, he probably just got knocked silly. That only makes the other kid worry even more. Then we see the redhead got a huge bump on his forehead from that flick. He says he's going to bed, and that the guy will wake up when he wakes up. Meanwhile, the other boy keeps calling out, asking if Cheon Sungjae is really alive. He tries to get a response, but the redhead is just lying there with foam at the mouth. After that, Jian heads into the room. Inside, he finds a bunch of statues and figures of himself. He stares at all of it, then asks what this nonsense is supposed to be. The boy reminds him that Cheon Sungjae is obsessed with Lee the protagonist. Right then, the redhead wakes up and yells not to touch them carelessly. They're his precious Lee Gyeon collection, worth more to him than his own life. MC walks over, rips the head off one figure and says, this is making him feel awful. Then he says they might as well tear all their heads off, and the guy freezes in shock. The redhead starts screaming about his figures, and begs him to stop, but the protagonist just keeps breaking them. He says he already told them he's not some crazy guy, he's Lee Gyeon. The poor collector is totally shattered, and starts crying. Then the scene switches to a cafe, where someone is watching the news. The report says that 2 Gemini affiliates were attacked yesterday by an unidentified man. Witnesses also say the suspect stole the victim's belongings. The one watching the report is Hugo. He immediately says this has to be Gyeon's doing, and wonders what that idiot is up to now. He grumbles that this is the first kind of news he hears right after arriving in Korea. Then a waitress asks what he'd like to order. The second Hugo looks at her, his expression turns cold and he tells Yang Wei to cut it out and get lost. She smiles and admits he noticed right away. Then it's revealed the fat guy is using the woman's body. He says he couldn't reach Hugo, and judging by how fast he came to Korea, he must care a lot about Lee Gyeon. That alone tells him plenty, so he demands that Hugo tell him everything he knows about MC. Hugo instantly snaps back, saying that's exactly why he hates body possessors like him, and flicks him. At once, the woman comes back to her senses. Confused, she wonders what she's doing there. Hugo curses Yang Wei for these stupid tricks and says he needs to find Gyeon before the others do. He calls out, wondering where he is. Then the scene cuts to a supermarket. The redhead and the other boy are shopping, and the boy says that Hyung might really be the protagonist. The redhead says there's no way, they look nothing alike. To him, Lee Gyeon is the hero who saved humanity. There's no way that delinquent is him, but the boy insists he saw him come out of the Devil Tower, and his strength was clearly not normal, so if he really is. The redhead cuts him off and says no, he's sure MC isn't Lee, because his father told him so. The other boy starts to respond, bringing up his father, but the redhead cuts him off again and says they should just go pay. At that moment, a woman suddenly screams in the background. She shouts that there's a thief. Both of them stop and wonder who yelled that. Then someone rushes right past them so fast that items go flying and shelves get knocked around. That man is the thief. The redhead recognizes that speed right away and says he's a Scorpio affiliate. He's using his power to steal everyone's wallets and valuables in the supermarket. The guy zips through the store like a blur, cleaning the place out. While doing it, he thinks to himself that no one can stop him at this speed. Even if other affiliates are around, it won't matter. He says he's already taken most of what he wants and is about to move on to the next place, when suddenly, bam, he gets punched right in the ribs. It's Jian, calm as ever, saying he caught him. The thief is stunned and the other boy blurts out asking why he is there. The protagonist casually says he came because he forgot to ask them to buy chicken. The thief collapses on the floor, twisting in pain, while someone nearby says Jian's pretty impressive. It's hard to catch a Scorpio affiliate because they're so fast. Still, judging from his energy, they assume he's just an ordinary believer. So they tell him that next time, he should report it to the police first. That self-important fool barely has time to react when something suddenly grabs his attention. He turns and the whole supermarket starts shaking. The thief panics, wondering if it's an earthquake. Then he decides this is perfect. He'll use the chaos to escape and takes off at once. As he runs, he thinks he was sure that weird guy had finished him, but this quake gave him a chance to get away. Then the ground in front of him splits open, and out of it comes a giant centipede. The thief freezes, realizing it's a calamity. He can't believe one showed up in a green zone. He curses himself, saying he should have run before getting mixed up in this. Even so, he still tries to escape, thinking that no matter how strong it is, it can't catch him at his speed. But while he's still smiling, the monster lunges with its mouth wide open. You can guess how that ended. Then we finally get a full look at the creature. It's the same monster the fat guy said they failed to capture. It stares down everyone there like prey, and panic spreads through the whole supermarket. The monster keeps watching them with a cold, deadly gaze. An announcement says this is not a drill. People start panicking even more as another voice reports a calamity event inside the supermarket, with civilians still trapped inside. Everyone is told to evacuate outside as fast as possible. Because of the queen spider's appearance, the supermarket's danger level has now been raised to a red zone. Then the monster releases a swarm of smaller creatures, some like flies, others like centipedes. And running, a little kid was left behind crying, and a monster rushed in to grab them. But then a green light suddenly appeared, and Jian smashed the monster aside. He hit it with one solid punch, as the child looked back in shock. MC asks if the kid is okay, and tells him to be more careful. But the moment the boy gets a good look at him, he freaks out and runs away without even saying thanks. Jian just stands there, a little dumbfounded. Still, he figures the kid seems fine, then wonders what kind of supermarket has more calamities than people. After being away this long, he decides it's time for a little warm-up, and starts pulling out his weapon. But then the scene cuts to a speeding car, and inside, the fat guy hears that a calamity appeared at a market in Bushion. At first he says he doesn't care, then asks what kind it is. When he's told it's the queen spider, he's completely shocked. He curses, saying they failed the last raid and barely managed to seal it. Now he wonders if it escaped, and admits he can't handle a red-class calamity alone. Then we get an explanation that after calamities appeared, humanity sorted them into 6 danger levels. Blue is low danger, green means safe, yellow is alert, orange means evacuate, and danger is rising. Red means the area is controlled by calamities. Black means human survival is impossible. So if the queen spider appeared, that market must have turned into a red zone. Then the driver asks Yang Wei what they should do about the market. He thinks for a moment and says to bury everything. The driver is shocked and asks him to repeat that. Yang Wei says no one can find out the truth. If people learn, even more damage happened because they hid the failed raid, it'll become a huge mess. So he orders them to say everyone inside is dead and send affiliates to bury the whole building. Then we return to the supermarket, where monsters are tearing through the place. A bald man curses the bugs and uses an ice prison, freezing the insects and monsters around him. As he attacks, he declares that they shouldn't look down on an S rank. It really looks like this bald guy might be the one the old man sent after Jian. But even though the monsters are frozen, they shatter the ice and charge again. The bald man is shocked that they broke his ice magic so easily. Then Jian steps in front of him, holding a bunch of cans like it's nothing, and tells him to move aside. The bald guy can't even tell when he got there. The protagonist looks at the monsters and says they must be starving if they've decided to eat humans. Then he tosses one of the cans he's holding up into the air. He snatches it at high speed and grins. Eat this. Then he starts hurling cans at the monsters, and every throw lands hard. The creatures shriek all at once. One of them gets split clean in half, and Jian tears through the rest like it's nothing. You really think you can bare your teeth at me, you trash? Still smiling like a maniac, he clears out the market aisle by aisle. You weak losers should know your place. The Gemini affiliates can only stare, shocked by how fast Jian is wiping them out. Then the system pops up beside him. You have defeated calamities. Your zodiac experience has increased. You obtain new materials for production. Materials? What is this system even talking about? A small crystal appears in MC's hand as the system explains. With the materials you collected, you can create skills and relics. Production skill has also changed. Jian decides he'll test that later. For now, moving like this doesn't feel bad at all, even with his physical ability cut to 50% because of the recovery penalty. Maybe now he can draw out even more power than before. Meanwhile, the bald guy stares at Jian in total disbelief. He can't believe he erased those S-rank calamities so easily when he couldn't stop them at all. Then the protagonist talks to Sungjae. Huh? When did you get that? The protagonist shows him the dagger he took from their place, and the kid freezes. Where did this guy even come from? MC stays completely calm, but the bald man suddenly speaks up. Hey, I knew something was off. So you're the one who attacked our affiliates. That catches Jian off guard for a second. The guy remembers the 2 idiots he smashed earlier. Still, the protagonist just tells him to shut up and slaps his cheek. The bald man drops to the floor, stunned. Damn it, how did he figure it out? You know too much. How could I not know, you idiot? Those clothes and that badge came from our affiliates. He realized it after Jian beat them up. Turns out MC was wearing Yang's outfit the whole time. And that badge is an S-rank relic only Gemini affiliates have. Sungjae looks at the badge while the bald guy keeps yelling. I bet that relic is why you're ridiculously strong. Am I right or not? Jian looks down at it. Huh? Why is this crap on me? Gross. Then he grabs it with his hand. The bald guy goes pale. You crazy bastard. That thing's worthless. At best, it's just decoration. You were all fooled by the witch. The man can only gasp, calling it blasphemy. He shakes his head. He can't believe this guy and the one from the bar are still acting like punks after 20 years. While Jian is talking to the bald man, a monster suddenly charges in. The protagonist's expression turns serious. Sung-jae and the red-haired guy point at it in shock. It's the queen spider, and now she's tearing through everything. People scream in panic as the destruction spreads, and the bald man blurts out, "Queen spider!" Jian immediately draws out his aura too. Then he launches himself at the monster. "Hey queen, I've got a gift for you." He lands a brutal hit on her, sending the giant spider flying. Everyone stares in disbelief at what they just saw. What the hell was that? He rushed the queen spider without even using a relic. Then a voice echoes out, "All Gemini affiliates inside the supermarket. Listen." The bald man recognizes it at once. "Wait, that voice? Bishop Choi?" Telepathy. He answers right away, "Yes, Bishop, this is Sung-ho, Sung-jae and Sung-ho. Is that you? Leave the building immediately." The speaker is Gemini Bishop Choi. "Sung-ho, Aries people are about to destroy the entire building." Outside, they're already preparing to bring it down. Choi keeps going. "Yang Wei is coming in person. We can't stop him. And the queen spider in that supermarket is a monster. Even Yang Wei couldn't kill. That's why they're desperate to bury this whole place. It would be bad if their failure came to light. Sung-ho, you borrowed a teleport skill, right? Take Sung-jots and get out now." "What? Just the two of us?" Something makes Sung-ho hesitate. He looks around and sees the wounded people all over the place. The destruction inside the market is impossible to ignore. At the same time, Jian is still fighting head-on. Sung-ho falls silent, thinking, and Choi presses him. "Why are you taking so long? Is there a problem?" "No sir, no problem." Meanwhile, the red-haired boy shouts back, "Begging for help wouldn't matter anyway. So what are you saying? Can't you see the mess here? You're telling everyone to get buried alive." Sung-ho hesitates again, then says he knows, but if word gets out that the queen spider appeared in the middle of a city, what will people think of them? He keeps going before anyone can answer. The citizens will blame the divine sanctuary. Their faith will weaken, and so will the power of the gods. Humanity's devotion has to stay firm if we want divine protection. He says they only have 2 teleports left, so only 2 people can go. "Sung-jae, you're coming with me. I have my orders. I'm getting you out." But Sung-jae refuses to leave his friend behind, especially with so many people still trapped inside. "You idiot. This isn't the time to make me look bad. I'm not dying here because of some useless brat like you." He starts summoning his ice power again and adds, "I can't disobey the saint's orders, so I'll get rid of all this dead weight, then you won't have a choice." The second the red-haired boy hears that, he draws his weapon too. "You disgusting piece of trash. Sung-jae, you really think you can fight me? We're not even close to the same level. Forget that pointless conscience of yours and make the smart choice." But before he can finish, a centipede smashes him across the back. He goes face first into the ground, sliding hard. Then Jian looks over and says, "What? You're still here? It's dangerous, so get out already." Hyung, the boy, calls out. He's using the word for an older brother. Then the red-haired kid explains, "The exit is blocked by calamities, so we can't leave. Our only options are to use teleportation or beat all the calamities." The queen spider is still there, staring everyone down. There are a lot of injured people too. Outside, the men in suits keep gathering purple power, and he adds that the Aries constellation sect is sealing off the whole area. Jian clicks his tongue. What a headache. The bald man, still wrecked on the floor, gets back up and starts screaming that MC dared to crush him. He cuts him off, saying he thought the guy had already run off and abandoned everyone. "Shut up, idiots. Survive on your own if you want. I'm leaving no matter what." But the moment he tries to teleport, a web shoots onto his back. The queen spider has him. "What? No way." She yanks him straight into her jaws, and that's the end of him. Only his phone falls to the floor. Everyone stares at the spider with grim faces. Jian tells the other two, "I'll handle this. Take care of the injured and get out when you can." The red-haired boy and Sung-jae look at each other, but the protagonist adds, "I'll finish this fast, so move." Outside, the barrier keeps rising, and Yang arrives, asking for a report. They tell him they blocked off the store and put the whole building on high alert. He isn't impressed. For something they started before he got there. This isn't much. Then they notice the barricade isn't holding. It's being blocked by something. A green light suddenly bursts out, shattering the barricade and throwing everyone back. Then a giant serpent symbol appears around the area. What is that? A snake? People start flooding out of the supermarket in panic. They beg for help, saying the calamity is still inside and people are still trapped. The men in suits try to hold the crowd back as others shout that one guy was grabbing the spiders. Yang watches the whole scene in silence. Grab the spiders? No, that's impossible. Even I can't catch one, so who did it? He starts releasing his red aura. The guards quickly warn everyone. "Mr. Yang Wei, there may still be calamities inside." He doesn't care and orders them all to stay alert. Then he leaps from building to building until he enters the supermarket and says, "My God, how did someone manage to kill it? Who did this? There are traces of a battle? What happened here? Is someone really hunting the queen spider? This is getting even more troublesome. There's too much to worry about already." But this energy, he takes off running, looks down below and freezes. Wait, that bastard, why is he here? Down in the crowd, he spots Hugo. Yang starts wondering if Hugo is behind all this. Could it really be him? It almost makes sense until someone suddenly says, "Hey, how have you been without me?" The moment Yang hears that, he goes stiff. "What is it, fatty? Something wrong?" It was Ligum. He'd been talking for a while, then asked, "What's with that look? Like you ate something bad." Shocked, the big guy stammered, You're here?" The scene shifts to a green alarm blaring. Firefighters guide people out while shouting for anyone hurt to come over fast. They warn everyone to get away from the building, while Dinam and the redhead stand there thinking, that guy really is Ligum. He looks different, but those moves are definitely his. Then someone calls out, "Cheon Sung-jae." It was Hugo. He stared at him and asked, "Cheon Sung-jae, why are you here?" Dinam froze and muttered, "The Sagittarius Saint." The redhead just looked confused. "What? Since when were you back? So that's how you talk to your father?" The redhead is Hugo's son. A pretty wild reveal. Dinam smiles, but the redhead is clearly furious. Hugo keeps looking at them. Then he says it's good they don't seem badly hurt. A little treatment from the medics should be enough. But what matters more is that they were inside the supermarket, and he heard the Calamity was killed. So who did it? The redhead ignores him completely. Still angry, he just glares, wondering who Hugo plans to chase next. Then Dinam says, "But Brother Gum should be okay, right?" The moment Hugo hears that, he rushes over. "You just said Gum? Where is he? You know him?" The poor guy panics. Sorry. Are you talking about the Saint?" "Yeah. He's inside the supermarket right now. He's also the one who beat the Queen Spider. He said his name is Gum. Tell me exactly what happened in there." Right then, a huge explosion erupts inside the supermarket. Hugo turns and sees the blast behind him. Then the scene changes again. Now the big guy is there, beaten up and stunned, saying, "You bastard." But the protagonist just smiles. "You're so dramatic. We've known each other for 20 years, and you attack me the second you see me? Who the hell are you?" The big guy snaps, "You look a little like Ligum." But his face wasn't covered in scars, and his voice sounds different too. There's no way he could still look this young. "You bastard. How dare you pretend to be Ligum? You almost fooled me for a second." "Pretend." The big guy keeps yelling. "How dare you challenge me? You ready for what happens next?" The protagonist just stares at him. "What the hell are you even talking about, idiot?" Then he steps in and drives a hit straight into the big guy's chest, sending him flying. "Did you think I was joking?" He doesn't stop there. He slams the guy around like a ping pong ball until he crashes to the floor. With one hand in his pocket, the protagonist walks up calmly. "Do you people really need a beating before you listen? Did life get better after getting rid of me? You filthy bastard. You stole my relics, and from what I heard, you even faked my testimony." The big guy can only stare in shock. Fine. I was already planning to send you flying anyway. I'll start by teaching you a lesson." The big guy is still rattled as the protagonist keeps talking. "After that, I'll go to your house, your sanctuary, your relics, and the rest of those trash saints too. I'll destroy it all. I won't let that happen." The way he talks and moves, he's not bluffing. I couldn't even track his attacks earlier. Is he really Ligum? Did he actually survive the tower and come back? No way. If you really are Ligum, then the big guy starts drawing out his power. "Prove it to me." A red-purple force flares up around him. A dark symbol spreads across the ground, and something rises behind him. He appears with a crown as the system announces, "The Master of Ares, Jade Emperor, has revealed himself." So only part of your god showed up? Even then, the big guy keeps acting proud. He fires out a storm of chains to capture Ligum, and once they wrap around him, he sneers, "Do we still look weak to you now? I don't know how you came back from the tower, but I'll make you regret it." Skill, divine armament. More and more chains tighten around the protagonist, locking him in place, while a mass of spikes forms right in front of him. "Wow, that's pretty impressive." "Shut up, bastard." All those spikes shoot straight at him and tear through the whole area. A pile of blades stacks up over him, one over another. Did he finally die? I was surprised he even made it back from the Devil's Tower. Still, he's as stupid as ever. To fight me head-on like this. Did he think a few level-ups and some experience points were enough? What an idiot. Did he really think I spent the last 20 years doing nothing? Then a green light starts shining from inside the spikes. The big guy immediately tenses up. An explosion bursts out, throwing the blades back as the protagonist charges through and smashes a hard hit into the big guy's face, sending him flying backward. "How did he survive that? Are you really Ligum?" The protagonist laughs. "So you finally figured it out, you fat bastard." He plants a foot on the big guy's stomach and keeps talking. "Yeah, that's right, I really did come back. How did he get out alive? And what happened to you? Even your weapons smell like trash now. That kind of recovery should be impossible, even for Aquarius healers." System messages appear. "You experienced near death. Conditions met. Skill unlocked. 13th sense. Thanks, you made me stronger. Now, how about I try something new?" Hey, wait, please." The system keeps going. The god Ares is shocked by Ligum. He tearfully asks why Ligum is still alive. The god Ares trembles, saying this is impossible. The god Ares vanished in a flood of curses. The big guy is left panicking. What? What is this? Why is a god disappearing?" The protagonist answers, "Maybe because he knows fighting me is pointless. I'm feeling merciful, so I'll only make you suffer as much as I did." He says it with a smile full of pity. Then he starts beating the big guy down, and after some time, Hugo arrives with the man's subordinates asking, "What the hell happened here? The place is completely wrecked, and Hugo takes it all in. That energy, Yang Wei. This was definitely Ligam's doing. Only he could leave behind a mess like this. One of the men adds, something's wrong. I can still feel Yang Wei's energy from here, but it's way too weak for someone who's alive. What happened? Hugo says nothing at first, then he releases his aura and tells them, step back for a second. The next moment, he vanishes and heads straight to where the big guy was. After looking around, he curses. Ligam, that bastard. He even left a message there. Pathetic bastard. What kind of mess are you making next? The scene shifts to Iris's house. The protagonist arrives calmly and says, so the divine artifact Yang Wei stole from me is here, huh? He steps inside and soon finds a statue of the big guy, with people moving around the place. The protagonist looks around and says, that bastard is so obsessed with looking rich. He's showing off all this wealth, but I can already sense my divine artifact. And what's with these fake relics? Looks like he even took clothes from my house. But these weapons are all fake. Then he spots something labeled toothpick used by Ligam. There you are, my precious. Then the scene cuts to people in shock as a red alarm starts blaring. It's the thief. Hurry. All guards to Area B. When they arrive, the protagonist is standing there, holding the toothpick. In no time, a whole force surrounds him. Hands up, drop the item, and surrender peacefully. He just looks at them. Yeah, I don't feel like it. He flicks the little toothpick, and it starts smashing through everything, sending people flying. They get thrown all over the place, while he calmly says, you really should use what you're best with, don't you think? Then it changes form. It was a toothpick, and now it's a slime. Good to see you again, Lime. The system announces, you unlocked a divine artifact, the slime that creates all. Divine artifact of creation guidance. Rank S, trait, shape change. Rank S. Another message follows. Conditions met to unlock the skill creation workshop. A 1.5-meter workshop has been created. Default workshop range unlocked, production, repair, reinforcement, and dismantling. With the creation skill engraved, the traits of the slime that creates all can be granted. Alright, should we get out of here now? Then one more system window appears. The energy of Ares' divine artifact is being strongly detected. Huh, it'd be a little disappointing to leave empty-handed. The little slime stares at him as he walks forward. He opens the door and says, time to farm. Then the scene cuts to Hugo saying he came too late. The big guy's mansion is already wrecked and people are running everywhere in panic. Gum, please stop this. People keep fleeing in the background as the scene changes again. Now the protagonist says, I'm starting to get hungry. Hugo shouts, Gum, huh? Tyson comes running over, crying like crazy. But he rushes right past Jian without even noticing him. Instead, he grabs some poor guy and yells that if Ligam was alive, he should have gone to him right away. Then he demands to know what he did after coming back. MC just stares at him, confused, while Tyson keeps rambling, saying his leg looks fine but the rest of his body doesn't, and asking where he's rushing off to in that condition. That makes Ligam snap. He kicks Hugo in the face and snaps, you can't even recognize your own friend, idiot. Hugo spits blood, still stunned, while the poor extra nearby clearly wants to get out before things get worse. Hugo freezes. Then he notices the divine artifact, the slime, and stares. Wait, are you really? Ligam cuts him off, ready to hit him again if that's what it takes to fix his head. Tyson. The poor guy can barely speak. Then Tyson finally blurts out, Goo Goo, and throws himself at Jian, totally emotional. Even Lime looks happy. Tyson can hardly believe it. He is really alive. But Goo Goo drops hard into his stomach and Tyson reels back in shock. The protagonist curses at him for hugging him out of nowhere, and that only convinces Tyson even more. Yeah, that's definitely Goo Goo. Just then the system warns them. Apollo has appeared. Everyone pauses. A golden aura rises behind them as Apollo shows up. Tyson stares, clearly shaken, while Apollo opens his eyes and fixes Jian with a strange look. Tyson looks even more nervous, but Ligam stays calm. Then Apollo appears right in front of them, and Hugo can't understand why he's here. Apollo only keeps staring at Jian in silence. MC frowns and asks what this is supposed to be. The system says Apollo doubts Ligam really survived, and suggests checking if this is truly him. Hugo is lost. How is he supposed to do that? Apollo raises his bow at Ligam and figures a fire arrow should reveal the truth. Hugo quickly hugs him and begs Apollo not to do it. He meanwhile thinks maybe he should just get rid of this messed up god too. After all, the guy is aiming arrows at someone he just met. Hugo keeps trying to calm things down, saying it's fine and Jian doesn't look hurt. The protagonist says he'd rather settle a few things first. Hugo flinches. What? Then he remembers MC's voice message and goes pale while Jian keeps talking. He says he just got out of the tower and found out his house was sold, his name was ruined, and all his relics were gone. Hugo tries to stop him but says for now he'll just give him one punch, and he actually does it. He takes the hit and says that punch proves it. Hugo really is Ligam's guy after all. Right then, Yang Wei's guards show up shouting that they found him. They tell everyone to grab the man who stole the relics. Jian blinks, then remembers he was being chased. Hugo turns to Ligam and asks what exactly he stole. The protagonist casually says it wasn't much, then shows a bag stuffed with items. Hugo realizes he robbed Yang Wei's relic storage. That makes Ligam tear up and yell, asking what kind of mess Jian just caused. The guards want to arrest him right away, but their leader stops them, saying MC isn't someone they can handle. He knows calling more people like them still won't change anything. Before anyone can react, a huge gust tears through the area, and Ligum wonders what that was. Then something leaps in. One of them realizes who's arrived. A massive sword crashes down, and they understand it. This is Ares' avatar, the Beast of Riches. The creature roars right in front of Hugo and Ligum. They look up, and Hugo immediately panics. It's Ares' avatar. He urges Jian to drop what he took from Yang Wei and run, but he tells Ayaso to relax. He says he has a plan, then calls for Lime to do it. Lime's eyes start glowing, and light pours out of him. A moment later, he spits out what looks like Jian's weapon. The protagonist knows it'll be hard to fight an avatar with it in this condition, so he calls for its true form, the one that stayed asleep until now. Green energy starts wrapping around his old weapon, and Hugo wonders what kind of power this is. Then lightning strikes, and a huge new sword appears in Jian's hand. Now he says, it's finally useful. The system explains that the relic awakened through the power of Ophiuchus, and thanks to that constellation's Snake Hunter trait, the sword gained a fatal strike effect. Its blade became sharper and its power increased. Another skill unlocks, 13th sense. Now Jian can see the enemy's vital spots and the path of destruction. MC grins. So this is his new ability. He tests it at once and spots the monster's weak points. With that, he's ready to move. He charges straight at the beast while Hugo watches from behind. He remembers this is exactly how Jian always fought, taking the lead and rushing the enemy, no matter how dangerous it was. He tells him to finish it fast, but then the monster slams its paw down just as he closes in. Hugo shouts in shock, but something happens to the beast's paw. Jian complains that Hugo is yelling too loud, jokes that the smell of that beast's feet nearly killed him, and says now it's his turn. The monster is stunned when its paw goes flying. Jian sliced it clean off. The beast roars in pain and the system warns them to be careful. The Beast of Riches, Pichu, has used its skill. It keeps roaring, but the protagonist stands there calmly and says it would have avoided punishment if it had stayed quiet. Now he's going to start slowly. He gets ready to attack again, and the system announces that Ophiuchus' trait is activating, Snake Hunter. Jian swings, sending a slash racing across the ground toward the monster. The force tears through everything in its path, reaching far into the area. Everyone can only stare in shock. Jian stands firm, and the trail of destruction shows just how powerful that blow was. Hugo realizes this power matches the MC from his prime. The monster is completely beaten, and the system announces he defeated an avatar, and his divinity points increased. Then it asks if he wants to take the Beast of Riches, Pichu, as his own avatar. Jian is surprised. Only the 12 gods are supposed to control avatars, so this is possible too? He walks up to the beast and pets it. His aura starts wrapping around it, and the creature even grows wings. The system confirms that the Beast of Riches, Pichu, has become Ophiuchus' avatar. Current number of avatars, 1. Now it looks oddly cute. Pichu shrinks down just to hug its new owner, and Jian picks it up. He says a beast of riches like this will make a great treasure chest. In the back, Hugo is speechless. He just turned another sanctuary's avatar into his own, and Hugo can't imagine what kind of condition allowed that to happen. Jian cuddles the little beast for a second, when the system appears again. It says he can give Pichu a name. The protagonist thinks for a moment, then names it Piggy. After that, the scene shifts to Hugo's house. MC calls him a traitor, and Hugo fires back, asking if Jian has any idea how worried he was. He calmly says that, unless he's wrong, Hugo got married, started a family, and enjoyed life while his friend was trapped inside that awful tower. Jian keeps pressing him, then jokes that maybe he won't be able to rob him in his own house. He repeats that point more bluntly, but Hugo says not to worry. The protagonist can stay as long as he wants, since he lives there alone. That awkwardly slips out, and Hugo tries to cheer things up. Then he panics and explains he's not divorced, it's just that his wife, never mind. He tells MC to forget it. Instead, he asks what the hell happened inside the tower. Privately, Hugo decides not to tell Sungjae or Yue about Jian yet, since they were crazy about him. Back then, Hugo had been fighting the calamities outside the tower, so he never learned what happened inside or why the other saints came out carrying the head of the Scarlet Eyes instead of him. Jian says the truth is simple and ugly. He was stabbed in the back and thrown into a trap. That place was packed with calamities. More and more kept showing up, and even Scarlet Eyes came back to life. Hearing that, Hugo is shocked. Scarlet Eyes revived? The protagonist confirms it. He explains the monster was deeper inside the tower, and its real form was a giant fire dragon. Jian says he still managed to kill that bastard, but the real problem wasn't Scarlet Eyes, it was the tower's true administrator. That guy could revive dead calamities. No matter how many times MC killed them, they kept coming back. Somehow he still managed to get out. But honestly, he thought he would never escape. That sick freak tortured him badly for a long time. In the end, I used everything I had and beat the tower's administrator. If I remember right, I got buried after that. When I woke up, the monsters were gone from the cave, and somehow I had these new powers. One thing's for sure, the bastard who stabbed me knew the tower inside and out. That's how he trapped me in that cave, packed with calamities. He had to know exactly where it was. I'm definitely going to make those guys pay, the ones who stole what was mine and talked trash about me. But the one who betrayed me, I've got something special planned for him. First, I need to get ready. Hugo is left stunned after hearing all that and asks what he should do. Jian says he needs to make the gear he'll use against them. Then he uses his power on the little wooden horse he set down and his skill appears. Creation Workshop. Level 1. It can summon a workshop that makes anything. The system starts searching for usable crafting materials and asks if he wants to use divine relic materials. A list of available materials pops up. Corrupted essence of the queen spider's stored magic power can be absorbed. Calamity Fragment raises the success rate and power of a divine relic. On top of that, several divine relics from Ares are detected. They're the relics he took from Ares' house. Jian decides to just throw everything in and try it. The creation of the relic begins. The whole house is covered in green light as more system messages appear. Creation complete. A divine relic has been made, and it produced an ego. Imitation, horse rank D. If you write someone's name on the relic, that person can absorb the magic power of whoever they touch. It lets them take 10% of another person's magic power for 1 hour, and it's strongly loyal to its owner. Jian is pleased. A divine relic with an ego can grow on its own. Hugo just claps in amazement. Still, he says a high-level item with an ego doesn't look all that impressive, and the horse instantly gets mad at him. He fires back. Does he have any idea how many materials that took? The relic asks if he wants to use the remaining materials to make something better, but the protagonist lets it go for now. Then Hugo changes his tune, praising the design and calling MC a genius for making a divine relic. MC points out that a second ago he was insulting it and saying he should show it some respect. Then Hugo asks if he studied design in the Devil's Tower. He thinks for a moment and says that depends on how useful Hugo is from here on out. They need to start dealing with those fake saints. Poor Hugo even gets smacked on the head. He asks how the protagonist plans to do that. It won't be easy to lure the other saints out of their territories. Jian asks if this should be enough to draw them in. It's the true divine relic from the House of Ares, the Golden Fleece Chest. The system explains, Golden Fleece Chest, rank SS. It can store anything and even multiply the items inside if you pay the price. It's one of the best true divine relics. Hugo asks why he brought it if he can't even use it. Jian says he heard Iso is a saint with no money, so he brought it to help fund their side. Iso gets annoyed and snaps that he isn't poor, then asks the higher the relic's rank, the more materials it costs, right? MC says they'll use it to multiply their materials and make divine relics strong enough to crush the others. Hugo asks how they're supposed to do that when nobody there can activate it. Jian stares at him and asks if he really can't use it. Hugo reminds him he isn't Ares' saint. He's the Sagittarius saint. Didn't he notice? The protagonist didn't. The two of them just sit there in silence. Then Hugo says maybe MC can use it instead. Jian shuts that down too and says they need another way. But then he keeps talking and casually mentions he already sent a declaration of war to a broadcasting station. He is stunned. He blurts out, "What did you send and where?" Hugo says there's no point now. They just have to figure something else out. The protagonist repeats the question, furious, and calls him insane. The scene shifts to the Blue House in Korea, where a meeting is going on. One man angrily tears into the others, saying they couldn't even beat a single spider and only ended up humiliating themselves. He says they should have stuck to selling charms instead of joining a fight against a calamity. He's the Divine Captain, Divine Lion Oliver, but someone cuts him off. They warn Divine Lion to watch his words. Oliver says he heard some random guy beat the Queen Spider. Then he wonders if the dead Jian somehow came back to life. Another person tells him not to go too far. It's obvious he's way too obsessed with MC's old hero stories. That man is the Gemini Divine Captain, Choi Sung-hyuk. He's the one who told the bald guy and the dagger user to run from the supermarket. Choi asks what the problem is. If it really were Jian, then of course he could have taken down that spider easily. Didn't they see that famous Russian subjugation video? But another man argues he only did that because he got buffs from the other saints, and his weapons were given to him too. With that kind of support, they would have done even better. Choi dryly answers that maybe he just didn't get enough support to beat the Queen Spider then. That's why he failed, right? The man immediately gets angry. He insists he's just setting the record straight. Ares' side defeated the Queen Spider thanks to the sacrifice of an S-rank disciple. Choi mocks him, saying, wow, Ares has someone that strong? He'd love to meet them, though he'd probably have to search inside the Queen Spider's stomach. The argument keeps going while an old man in the back grumbles about how the Blue House turned into a den of thugs. Then someone bursts through the door shouting for the president to turn on the news right away, because something huge happened. On the broadcast, the reporter says their station just received a mysterious package containing photos from someone claiming to be Yang Wei, along with a short message. The photos show Yang Wei wrecked, and the note says, "I'm back." A handwriting analysis confirms a 99% match. The writing belongs to the supposedly dead Li Jian. Then the scene cuts back to Hugo yelling. He asks the protagonist what he was thinking when he sent that. MC says it was a declaration of war. He's telling them to get ready because he's going to rip off every one of their heads. Hugo keeps shouting, telling this maniac to focus. Beating Yang Wei was already a huge problem, so why did he have to announce himself too? Jian corrects him. Yang Wei isn't dead. Hugo freezes. What? He says technically he's alive, but not really living. Hugo is completely stunned as the protagonist presents the answer. Ta-da, this is Yang Wei. He holds up a teddy bear, and the bear is sweating. From inside it, Yang Wei curses Jian. Hugo can't believe it and asks if that really is Yang Wei. From inside the bear, Yang Wei screams for MC to let him out. He explains that the battle made his abilities grow a lot. Now he can suppress Yang Wei's soul. He talks to the bear like it's being naughty, while Yang Wei just keeps trembling inside. Hugo asks if something like that is even possible. Jian brushes that off and tells him to look at something else, handing him an orange peeler. Hugo has no idea what he's looking at, so the protagonist explains that this is the orange peeler used to carve into his back in the Devil's Tower. The person who tried to kill him used this, and from the engraving it doesn't seem like it belonged to just anyone. Hugo asks if Jian has any idea who it might have been, but MC barely listens and keeps yanking on the teddy bear that now holds Yang Wei. He says he's going to stop by the Divine Artifact store for a while. Hugo asks why. Jian says maybe the person working there has seen those engravings somewhere before. Then the mood softens a bit as the protagonist asks to borrow some clothes, and Hugo tells him he can wear anything in the closet. The scene changes again. Now dressed up in style, Jian says he'll leave servant number 2 at home this time. That makes Hugo stop and ask, number 2? So there's a number 1? MC says he'll be back, servant number 1, meaning Hugo. Hugo fumes while Yang Wei, trapped in the teddy bear, grins at him. The story then moves back to the place where he fought Pichu. A group of sharply dressed women arrives and starts looking around. One says the Saint of Ares isn't here either, and she can't sense his divine power at all. Then it cuts to someone calmly taking a bath, wondering where he could have gone. She is the Aquarius Saint, Sophie Morty. Maybe he vanished along with all his wealth. She says that would be troublesome, especially if he made a deal with another saint behind her back. She wants to know where that fat man went. One of the others carefully suggests that maybe the newly returned Li Gion kidnapped Yang Wei. At that, Sophie just smiles. She calmly says those jokes aren't funny and starts drowning the other woman under the bath water without changing her expression. Terrified, the woman quickly apologizes and says she spoke out of turn. Sophie lets it pass and tells her to go to the Divine Artifact store as planned. She says they need to get ready to sell divine artifacts and raise money for the drachma auction, since that auction is very important. But while she's saying that, another bodyguard rushes in, shouting that there's a huge problem. The other saints have also applied to join the drachma auction. Hearing that, she's shocked and blurts out, "What? What?" Then the scene shifts to the Lion Academy. A group of muscular guys stare ahead in shock. In front of them, a beast-like man trains hard, pushing through a heavy squat before dropping the weight. Then someone walks up behind him and says the artifact of Jian will appear at the drachma auction. Hearing that, he goes quiet for a moment. He lets the weight slam to the floor and laughs, saying it finally showed up. He declares that Jian's artifact will belong to them. This is the Leo Saint, Stephen. Next, a portal opens with crackling lightning. The protagonist steps out of it. Hugo's son comments that teleportation is really useful, and the redhead answers that it normally costs a lot, but for people tied to Gemini, it's free. They've arrived at the Divine Artifact Store complex. Jian thanks him, saying he needed an appraiser, and got introduced to an SS Rank 1. The redhead brushes it off but then remembers his boss's order. He met the man who defeated the Spider Queen, so he's supposed to keep watching him with full support no matter what. He looks at his phone and sighs until Jian asks if his boss has been bothering him since that incident. The boy quickly denies it. Then MC hands him the item, saying it worked well against insects. Its details appear on screen. That orange peeler, it's Janice's desire, rank A. Its skill summons two-faced soldiers, a red one and a blue one, and triggers a random ability. The redhead points out that it wasn't rusty when Jian took it from his house, and he says he repaired it, though the effects changed a bit, so don't be surprised. The boy thanks him, amazed. Then he looks around and says, this is where the SS rank appraiser works. Inside, a man is suddenly startled, while everyone outside starts murmuring that someone so stunning is actually here. It's the same bodyguards from before, escorting the Aquarius Saint. She walks in like she owns the place. She approaches the clerk and says she wants to leave some divine artifacts with the appraiser before the auction. The nervous clerk apologizes and explains that the appraiser is with another client right now. That annoys her. How dare he help someone else while she's here? Still, she keeps a sweet smile and says she'll wait nearby. Even so, she keeps wondering who's inside. And inside, of course, it's Jian. He looks around at the expensive items and says an SS rank really runs this place. Then the appraiser asks Sungjai who made this item, and the protagonist answers from the side that he did. The man is stunned and asks if MC has some connection to MC. He's the Virgo affiliate and an SS rank appraiser. The redhead introduces him as someone claiming to be him. But the appraiser thinks he's joking and tells Sungjai they're having a serious talk. He turns back and demands to know the protagonist's relationship to the protagonist. The protagonist just goes, "What do you mean?" The appraiser explains that most people only know MC for his fighting, but he was also a legendary maker. As for the artifact he brought, he says he's seen many fakes, but this one is different. He can feel his craftsmanship in it. That makes the protagonist smug, and he says this guy must know the protagonist well. The appraiser proudly says he does, because he's MC's disciple. He even blushes saying it. Jian is just as confused as anyone. What nonsense is this guy talking about? He doesn't remember ever having a disciple, still studying him. The appraiser says someone his age couldn't be a direct student, though his skill is impressive enough that he almost got fooled. That only makes him want to smack some sense into him. Then the man pulls out a small notebook and says this is an item the protagonist gave him after recognizing him as a student. Jian is shocked, it's the notebook he lost. He realizes this might be the newbie who followed him around in China. Back then, the guy was so annoying MC thought he was just a pest, but now 20 years later he's aged a lot. The appraiser gets emotional, saying Jian had an amazing eye for items and gave him really useful information. Then one day he suddenly vanished, leaving his things behind, and this notebook was all that remained. The protagonist meanwhile realizes this disciple really did take it. The man goes on, saying MC's handwriting was awful, so he could barely read it, but he believes it held his ideas. Jian wants to yell that the idiot is wrong, it was actually his hit list. After reawakening, he can get info from anyone he beats, and since this guy is SS rank, he should have some very useful information. The appraiser says the notebook would be more useful for a talented young man like Jian, and asks him to take it too. The protagonist is pleased. There were even a few of his bills tucked inside, so losing it had bothered him. Then the system announces that the sleeping notebook is reacting to its owner's magic. It will evolve into a divine relic through Ophiuchus's magic. The appraiser is stunned and says it's a divine relic that stores memories. He adds that MC has a kind of ability he's never seen before. The worn-out notebook changes shape, becoming fresh green and completely restored. Right then, someone calls out to Jin Myung that something happened. The old man turns and asks what it is, still confused, until the assistant says the saint is outside. Jin Myung gets annoyed, wondering why everyone is making such a big deal over one saint. Jian hears that and asks, a saint? Outside, the Aquarius saint is still waiting by the door. She thinks to herself, annoyed about all these low-class people staring at her. To her, that always happens in public. In the back, the redhead casually drinks some juice and says Sophie Marie usually only appears at official events. He heard it's hard enough just to get her out of the church. Now out of patience, she says waiting any longer is a waste of time. She decides to go in and speak to the appraiser herself. That appraiser has to buy their divine relics at a high price so they can raise money for the auction, and she's tired of being kept waiting. Her bodyguards beg her to be patient since he still has a client inside, but she snaps and says she'll see for herself who this client is. The moment she opens the door and looks at Jian, she freezes in shock. To her, he looks strangely dazzling, and then everything changes. Like before, the scene picks up with the saint entering the room. The instant she sees Jian, she's shaken. As she steps closer, she suddenly feels a deadly aura. At once, she drops to her knees, and her guards rush to ask if she's alright. But all she can think is, what was that? The power she felt was like being surrounded by thousands of snakes. She knows she has to get away immediately, so she runs out in panic while Jian and the appraiser just watch her leave. Then the mustached man asks him why she ran off like that, and the protagonist says, maybe she's sick. Right after that, the system speaks up. A Zodiac affiliate approached Ophiuchus without fear. Your divine power has increased. Current divine power 35. Jian wonders if divine power is different from magic, and the system explains, divine power takes shape as the power of gods. It can be stolen from gods or taken from other people. If it ever drops to 0, your Zodiac loses its strength, and if that lasts too long, you'll weaken. MC realizes he keeps gaining more and more abilities. Then he asks if the girl who just ran out was a saint. The appraiser is surprised he doesn't know her, even though she's all over the headlines. She's the Aquarius saint, Sophie Marie. Jian pauses. Sophie Marie? So that's what all this saint talk was about. He realizes that little girl became the saint, and she's changed a lot. He's not shocked he didn't recognize her. She already looked fine before, but even if plastic surgery made her prettier, her rotten heart stayed the same. If he had to sort the things he hates into fish, bones, worms, and trash, Sophie would definitely be a worm. To him, she barely even counts as human. She values skincare more than human lives. Then the mustache man says he doesn't understand why people call her the peak of compassion and selflessness when she's really cruel and selfish. Gigi notices that means he knows a little about her. Outside, the saint tells one of her bodyguards to go back to the pawn shop and find out who that man was. The guard agrees, then asks what they should do about the appraiser. She cuts her off and says she changed her mind. Kill all of them. Guys, this saint is ruthless. So yeah, any ship with Jian is already dead. She thinks the Virgo saint likes that appraiser too much, and now they still need to sell their items. Being dragged into this mess ruined her mood and made her feel humiliated. Worse, that man brought back her trauma. To her, both of them are just rude idiots. She even offers her divine relic and says she'll lend out the power of the gods, but Sophie's aide hesitates. Using that kind of power in a neutral district is dangerous. Sophie cuts her off and asks if she's refusing an order. Then the story moves to the relic shopping district in the central zone. Walking through the area is Hugo's red-haired son, casually drinking juice and minding his own business. Then he suddenly stops. What is this? Why is there water on the ground when it isn't even raining? The water feels weak, but it still carries magic. Then he realizes something is wrong. A hand starts rising out of the water, and a clone made of water begins taking his shape. He's completely stunned, trying to understand what's happening. Looking around, he sees other people panicking as more water doubles appear. Above them, the saint watches the whole thing and calls it mirror duplicate. These copies are only ranker level Templars, but even weak ants can bring down an elephant if enough of them attack together. Someone shouts at the guard asking why she's using a combat skill in a neutral zone. He tells her to cancel it right away. She brushes him off. This came straight from the saint. According to her, it's the will of the gods. She activates a relic and a huge light fills the area as Sungjae tries to stop her, but he's too late. She unleashes the water chalice called Oblivion. Water spheres begin surrounding everyone, while even more clones appear behind her. Satisfied, she says she'll handle the man inside the appraiser's building herself. The others are ordered to capture every relic appraiser, and the water clones rush off. Sungjae realizes he has to get out fast. If he stays, he'll lose consciousness no matter what. The scene cuts back to Jian. He quietly watches water drip down from the roof, and the mustached appraiser says something bad must be happening outside. A wave of water magic suddenly wraps around him, and someone appears right behind Jian. She warns him not to move. It's nothing personal, but the saint is upset with him, so he'd better stay still. If he wants to avoid bloodshed, he should cooperate. The saint ordered both men killed, but if he apologizes for disrespecting her and buys their relic for a high price, she might go easy on him. Meanwhile, the mustached man is trapped inside a water bubble, but then he sees something that leaves him shocked. Jian grabs her dagger and snaps it like it's nothing. He tells Jin Young to make them pay for the damage. The woman just stares, unable to process what happened, while the appraiser thinks in disbelief. That dagger was a gift from Aquarius. How did Jian break it so easily? She yells that she told him not to move, then summons a water dragon that rushes straight at him. He destroys it instantly. Then he smirks and asks if she has more. That was fun. She can't believe it. He wiped out her ranker-level clone with one move. Now she finally understands how the saint felt. This man is dangerous, and if she leaves him alone, he'll become a problem for Sophie. So she throws everything she has at him. She says this power was made from the saint's purest magic. Then she summons orange-rank water wolves and a whole pack forms in front of her. Jian just watches and says she's really trying. Then he reminds Jin Young that he was told to take whatever he liked, so he decides he's taking these two. In the next second, he vanishes from the appraiser's sight and rushes through the woman and the wolves at high speed, cutting them apart in an instant. He's impressed by the dagger, saying it slices through them like butter. The material must be above ranker level. He only came to appraise his items, but ended up finding something much better. After destroying all the wolves, the system announces that he received data from a mirror duplicate fragment. Message after message appears in front of Jian, and he just calls it beautiful. The woman can only stare in disbelief. Every summon from the saint was crushed with ease. There's no way. This can't be the end, right? She realizes he's far above her level. If she attacks again, she'll definitely lose. So she turns around and runs. Jian just smiles at her retreat, and even the mustached appraiser is left amazed. Right then, the red-haired boy rushes in, asking if the protagonist is okay and saying he was just attacked too. But when he sees all the defeated wolves, he can't figure out what happened there. Then he notices the magic and realizes those were the saint's summons. Jian says if she keeps sending things like this, she's basically asking him to use them as materials. Still, he tells Sungjae they need to leave before the next attack comes, but the mustache man stops them for a moment. He says that 20 years ago he followed MC everywhere and studied his creations. He clearly remembers how Jian used to collect materials from enemies after battles. That wild fighting style and that demonic presence. Could this really be him? The protagonist simply raises a finger telling him to stay quiet, and the old man gets the message at once. Then MC walks away saying he'll come back for those materials, so keep them safe. He has questions too. The appraiser thanks him and asks him to come again, then watches Jian leave in style. Next he talks with Sungjae, who asks why the saint is targeting him. Did the protagonist do something to make her his enemy? MC tells him to wait. He's about to show him something fun. The scene shifts and now they're inside a snack shop. There are cupcakes, cakes, and sweets everywhere, while Jian happily stuffs himself with food. He asks Sungjae if the ice cream is good and tells him to eat as much as he wants. Sungjae agrees but points out that this place is expensive. Then he remembers that when the woman ran away, she dropped one of her items on the floor. He says it's fine after checking out this little thing, it should help a lot. It's a badge, and it can work like a credit card while also storing abilities. Looking closer though, it seems to be an Aquarius badge. If it really works as a payment card, that could cause trouble later. Even so, Jian keeps eating like there's no tomorrow. He asks Sungjae if he likes the ice cream too, but the poor guy freezes when he hears a voice. Turning around, he blurts out, "Captain Choi Sunggyuk." Choi asks if they mind if he joins them. Jian looks at him and realizes this is Sungjae's boss, the jerk who was talking trash about him. Choi introduces himself as the divine captain of Gemini, Choi Sunggyuk. Then he politely says Sungjae mentioned someone earlier, and the protagonist confirms it was him. Choi explains that he heard Sungjae met an acquaintance who defeated the Spider Queen, something even Yang couldn't do before. Jian asks what that has to do with him. Choi says recruiting outstanding talent is part of his job as a divine captain. MC immediately asks if he's trying to recruit him, maybe even bribe him. Choi reveals that one of his 8 divine relics will be auctioned soon. There's no rush, so they can talk while he oversees the auction. The moment Jian hears that, he puts down his spoon. They're auctioning off his stuff? Then there's no time to waste. He says he's going too and asks where the auction house is. Sungjae gently tells him to wipe the ice cream off his mouth first. Choi smiles, reaches out to Jian and says that since this is one of the protagonist's famous relics, it will be auctioned in a proper place. The biggest auction house in the world, floating 16,000 feet in the sky. Its name is Drachma, the city fortress. It's a massive zone surrounded by floating islands, centered around a giant tower. Then the scene changes to the saint, shaking in fear in her chair while someone nearby speaks up. He tells her that if she's just going to sit there trembling, she should leave. She's ruining the taste of his drink. She insults him in her head as a rude brute with no manners, but decides to put up with him for now. This is the man who rose above even Jian, so staying near him feels safest. He is the Leo Saint, Stephen Marker. Stephen says the weapon of MC's being auctioned today belongs to him, so she shouldn't even think about bidding on it. When she asks where he's going, he tells her it's none of her business, and to stay put. He leaves and she glares at his back in frustration. Still, she tries to calm herself. This is Drachma. No matter who that man is, there's no way he could come here. And then she sees Hugo. Someone welcomes the valuable guest right on time. Hugo scratches his head and wonders where he could have gone. He figured he might come here since this place is full of expensive divine relics. At that exact moment, the saint appears behind him with a creepy smile. She looks straight out of a horror movie and greets him like an old friend, asking how he's been. She calls out to Hugo Otters, and he recognizes her, Sophie. Hugo says it's been hard to see her lately and jokes that even she couldn't beat time forever. She used to be one of the prettiest saints, but now she's changed a lot. Or maybe it's because, unlike us, you barely have any disciples. Hugo just stands there, then snaps at her to get lost. He wants nothing to do with her. She mocks him, asking if he's going to ignore her and run off again. If he does, she warns he might lose his children too, just like he lost his wife. Hugo's expression turns cold, but she keeps talking. She says his wife still isn't dead, right? But that could change at any moment. What can he even do while his family falls apart? All because their leader is useless. That's when Hugo finally snaps. A huge blast erupts, and he glares straight at her. He warns her again to leave, but she stays calm like nothing happened. She tells him to settle down and she blocks Hugo's attack with one hand. She reminds him he of all people should know what it means to be a demi-saint. Then water magic starts forming around her when someone suddenly yells, "Hey, you pest!" She turns toward the voice and Jian flicks her right on the forehead. The hit shocks her so badly she blacks out. She drops to the floor and Hugo quickly turns to the protagonist. He calls out in surprise, asking what Jian is doing here. MC says he was worried Hugo would get dragged into another mess. Hugo jokes that he must really care about him, but he tells him to quit messing around. Then he asks why this woman keeps showing up everywhere he goes. The saint is lying there unconscious, foam at her mouth, while the protagonist wonders if she actually likes him. Hugo just stares, thinking this guy has issues. Then the story shifts to the saint's thoughts. She thinks about Ligam, the 13th saint, the one everyone called the strongest. Trembling, she admits she always hated Ligam. No, she feared him. His scarred face, his violent nature that crushed anyone in his way, and those cold eyes that always looked down on her. Her memory goes back 20 years. People were screaming that Ligam had arrived and trying to stop him. They told him this was Aquarius's sanctuary and demanded he leave, but Jian only looked at the woman in front of him and bluntly told her to screw off. She froze in shock and someone in the back asked what that was supposed to mean. It was the young saint, demanding to know how he dared invade this place and telling him to leave. Jian shocks her just to check if her heart is working, then grabs her by the arm. He says everything's gone to hell lately, and people keep calling them useless, so she needs to come with him now. She refuses right away, saying she has no intention of helping anyone. MC gives her a hard look, but she keeps complaining that he smells like sweat, and she still has to put on makeup for an interview. Then she tells him to let go, whining that his gross hand is squeezing too hard. That's where Jian loses patience. He slaps her across the face, and they keep arguing inside. In the end, she says she got dragged there to treat the wounded until she passed out. She calls Jian rude and irrational, and says she truly hates him. When she finally opens her eyes, he is there, calm as ever, telling her she talks too much in her sleep. She's even drooling, which only makes the moment more embarrassing. She stares at him, and after a tense pause, she suddenly screams, asking what he's doing there. She demands he let her go and asks how he dares treat a saint like this. Jian thinks she hasn't changed at all in 20 years, still saying the same stupid stuff. Meanwhile, she tells herself things aren't like they were 20 years ago. She plans to coat her hands in acid and melt the rope tying her up. Sure, a restraint like this is useless on her. If she can just get free and meet up with Steven. Jian flicks her forehead again before she can finish. He tells her to stop it. Her tricks are way too easy to read from her face. She fires back, calling him an idiot. Her acid protection skill activates the instant someone hits her body, and now that acid should start melting him down, beginning with his hand. She imagines Jian screaming as his body dissolves, but he just points a finger at her and says, "That's it, full recovery." She's stunned. The melted part heals instantly, and she realizes this isn't normal recovery, it's theft. Then Jian says it's time to go over everything between them. He heard she's been telling everyone she was his doctor. He calls that pathetic, and asks if she was the one who sent her dumb servant to the appraisal shop. If so, she's earned 5 flicks. She panics and begs him to wait, but the protagonist just raises his hand. Time's up. Then the forehead flicks start raining down, while Hugo calmly drinks his coffee and thinks Jian beats everyone the same way. Man or woman, to be fair, they all gave him a reason. Still, Hugo feels like something strange is happening. It's almost like MC's divine status is rising with every hit. System messages begin popping up. They say his divine status is charging 40 so far. It also notes that he landed a heavy blow on the Saint of Aquarius and obtained a special item, Saint rank data. After a while, Jian finally stops. The Saint is completely wrecked, and the system speaks again. Her divine status has been unlocked. Current divine status, -50. Required charge. Jian cuts in, confused. Divine status? What is that? He asks for an explanation, and the system says divine status is a god's power source, used to bring out and maintain a deity's strength. It also says he can steal divine status from disciples and even from other gods. If someone's divine status falls to 0, that zodiac loses its power, and if it stays there, that could even lead to death. He figures that means he can gain divine status by beating people up. He wonders why he didn't get any from Yang back then, maybe because this feature wasn't unlocked yet. Then Hugo notices the phone and asks where Jian got it. The protagonist says he borrowed it from someone he knows. Hugo's son. He adds that he has to head to the auction house now so Hugo can handle the rest. As for her, MC says to toss her into any trash can. Hugo is left stunned while Jian casually walks off. He says he'll get in touch after the auction ends. Hugo calls after him asking what he's supposed to do with her. A little later, the door opens. Hugo assumes he came back and asks if he forgot something, but when he looks up, he realizes it isn't him. It's Steven. Steven takes in the whole scene, seeing the Saint tied up while Hugo stares back at him. He asks Hugo what he's doing here. It's been a long time, he says, but this clearly isn't a moment for friendly greetings. Hugo asks why Steven is at the auction, and Steven explains that the Saint of Aquarius formed an alliance with him, even as he looks at her beaten-up state in that chair. Then he asks again why Hugo is here. Hugo answers that he has business at the auction house, and that's none of Steven's concern. Steven asks if Hugo is also after the divine relics of Ligum being sold there. That catches Hugo off guard, and he asks if Ligum's relics are really in this auction house. Steven is surprised he didn't know. Then he sneers that they'll cost more than Hugo could ever afford, so knowing doesn't really matter. Hugo smiles and calls him out. He says Steven has always collected relics made by Ligum, even though he never admitted how strong Ligum was and always felt inferior to him. So is he really hoping that owning those relics will make him as strong as Ligum? Steven is shaken for a second, but then both men start gathering power. Steven moves in first, grabs Hugo by the arm and warns him, "Don't get cocky." He says Hugo is nothing but a fool, and he doesn't want to hear Ligum's name from him. As he twists Hugo's arm, Steven claims he's stronger than Ligum now. But then someone rushes in, shouting for the Divine Captain. There's a problem. The Gemini bastards are buying up all of Ligum's items. Steven immediately lets go, saying he has no more time to waste here. He tells Hugo to do whatever he wants with Aquarius. Since Hugo didn't come for her, he should just leave. The auction is Steven's top priority, so he heads out. Before going, he gives Sagittarius one last warning. Control that attitude and bow your head if you want to stay alive. Hugo sarcastically thanks him so much, he could cry. After they leave, Hugo looks at his hand and curses. It's in terrible shape, and now he's not sure what to do. The scene shifts to Drachma's auction house. Inside the Gemini VIP room, the auctioneer announces that Gemini has won the divine relics again. With that, the first session of the auction is over. The second session will begin soon after the break. Hugo celebrates, saying it's his again. Someone congratulates him and says he can buy as much as he wants. Hugo thanks them for inviting him into the VIP room and even letting him buy whatever he wants. Take whatever you want. That's only natural. We want someone talented like you. Divine Captain, are you sure this is okay? The total for these divine relics already went over billions of won. It's fine. More importantly, Cheon Sungjae, sorry, but can you cover the alcohol bill? I didn't bring a company card. He'd already borrowed a ton of money, but since he was my superior, I couldn't really complain. Then the guy suddenly pulled out a black card and said not to worry. He'd already paid everything. Wait, isn't that my unlimited card? When did he take it? You looked pretty drunk, so I paid ahead of time. You really shouldn't make your subordinates pay, even by accident. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I was just about to hand him my personal card, so thanks for helping me pay with it. This kid looked young, but he was clearly trying to get inside my head. Still, this was the super rookie who beat the Spider Queen. If I use him well, no price will matter. Anyway, we've had enough drinks. Let's talk about the real reason we're here. I've been thinking a lot about you. I'm sure you've got huge potential. You could become S rank or even more, especially if you receive the blessings of our Saint of Aries. But our protagonist notices something first. That purple mist. Dominating mist. Normal people wouldn't even notice it. It doesn't force anyone to obey, but just breathing it in makes people trust him more. You might even become one of the 10 saints. And that's not all. You'd gain wealth, honor, and the great authority of the mighty mage Saint of Aries. All of that free. Now take my hand and become one of great Aries' disciples. That made our protagonist crack up. He started smiling and everyone around him got confused. Wow, today's been really funny. So let me get this straight. You want me to become some minor god's employee? Huh? He was so polite a second ago. Why is he suddenly mad? I need to change the subject first. I think you've got one thing wrong. Just then someone from outside spoke up. Excuse me, I brought the auction items that were purchased. Perfect timing, please come in. The woman stepped in with the items. Excuse me, and congratulations. Here is your auction item, along with the certificate proving it's one of Ligam's divine relics. A certificate of authority. These people really know how to fool idiots. But the man with glasses saw it and froze. Did you really buy one of Ligam's relics? You said I could buy anything. I wasn't looking for this on purpose, but it seemed useful. Steven is obsessed with Ligam's divine relics, so we really shouldn't have provoked him by buying one. I'm sorry, but this relic already has another owner, so we'd like to refund the money. Right then, the door exploded open in a burst of lightning. Everyone turned at once, furious. Steven demanded, "Who was it? Who dared to touch what belongs to me?" "Oh, Steven. He's the one I told you about, the guy who wanted my relic." "Mr. Steven, I'm very sorry. Please forgive us. The newcomer made a mistake, he just didn't know better. I'll return it to you right away." "Fine. Then all he has to do is admit it and hand it back." Thank you very much. You can take your time with the payment." "What? You don't actually think you can walk away after touching what's mine, do you?" "Captain Shui." Steven grabbed the glasses guy by the head. "Crap. He's trying to save billions by calling it a simple mistake. Stop talking nonsense. I bought it, so why would it be yours? If you want it that badly, I'll sell it to you for 20 billion. Steven went quiet for a second, then burst out laughing. "Haha, so Gemini isn't full of cowards after all. There's at least one gutsy bastard here. Oh no, this lunatic wants to die. Doesn't he know who Steven is? I like you. A man should at least have courage." He tossed the poor guy with glasses to the floor, then walked right up to our protagonist. "If meeting like this is fate, then why don't we introduce ourselves? Whenever I meet someone I like, I make sure to do it properly. And with plenty of sparks." "What the hell are you talking about? Steven, you bastard, looks like your skills improved a little. As expected from Leo, the one built for combat. Your fighting spirit can't even be compared to Aries or Aquarius. Once you show your claws, you're never satisfied until you rip someone apart, right? What a rotten temper." Steven lunged with his hand raised at our protagonist, and lightning burst out everywhere. The others stared in shock, calling out to the protagonist. Certain he'd won, Steven sneered. "That was fun, you can spend the rest of your life comfortably in a wheelchair." But then he paused. "Hey, what are you doing? Trying to brush dirt off my shoulder? What was that?" That attack definitely hit him head on. "You redirected my attack with teleportation? You really can't tell, huh? You're still all muscle and no brain. Stonewall breaker, did you really think the skill I created would work on me? You begged me to teach it to you, saying you wanted to save people with it, but looks like you only used it to show off your power." "What? You? Who are you?" At that exact moment, the woman returned and thanked everyone for waiting, saying the main highlights of the auction would begin soon. "Oh, is it already time? What now? Another relic of mine? I've got questions for you, but this auction matters more, so take good care of that pendant. I'll come back after it ends." After he left, Cheon Sungjae turned to the man with glasses and asked how he thought that attack had been deflected. Redecking an attack from a saint-ranked fighter, that was almost impossible even for him. Who the hell is this guy? Meanwhile, Steven thought, it's finally within my reach. His mind went back to the incident when an unknown calamity appeared on an island in Germany around 20 years ago. The island had been completely wrecked, and a helicopter circled above it while reporters watched. "Hello, we're currently above the island where the calamity appeared. Even though 4 days have passed since the 13th Awakened One Ligam entered the area, we still can't confirm what's happening inside because he hasn't come out. Several saints tried to enter, but none succeeded, because a massive curtain of poison surrounds the island. We'll return with more updates as soon as anything changes." Back then, while Steven was still young, someone beside him said, "This is as close as we can get, Saint." Steven could only wonder how Ligam got in there, and how he was fighting inside a place no one else could even enter. Why do I feel this way? Because of some bastard who nearly died without even having a god's blessing. What's the difference between me and him? Power? Followers? Skills? What am I missing? Saint Ligam is finally coming out of the entrance. What? Everyone looked on in shock. It's Ligam. Ligam came back alive. Ligam cleared the Delta calamity, and our protagonist just calmly said, "Man, it's hot as hell," while everyone else celebrated the hero's return. Saint, it looks like Ligam stole all the glory again. "That's fine, I understand now. Saint, where are you going? Prepare to withdraw. You're not taking your weapon? I don't need it. You can keep it. I found something even better. This is what I was missing. Compared to Ligam, this is a divine weapon." Then the story returns to the auction, where the announcer says, "Now we present one of Ligam's 8 great relics. We will reveal the strongest relic ever used in Berlin Wolf," and everyone stared in shock. Just as I thought. That's it, I finally get to see it again. Ligam's relic, one more time. The thing that will make me stronger. It was the strongest bone club, also known as the Great Bone. My god, I can't believe I'm seeing this. I'd only read about it in history books. This is the greatest divine artifact, both in historical value and practical use. So who will become the owner of the Great Bone? The room exploded as everyone shouted and tried to buy it. Our protagonist thought, yeah, I really did use that before. But hey, Cheon Sungjae, that thing is Cheon Sungjae was too shocked to listen. "Not now, I'm busy. Later. Captain of the Sanctuary, do something. I'll contact headquarters, we can't let this get taken away like this." Our protagonist got annoyed that they were ignoring him. "Now we'll begin the bidding for this item. The starting price is $1 million. 5 million, 10 million, 30 million, 50 million. Then a flood of system messages popped up in front of the protagonist. His fame kept rising. Huh? What's going on? System, calm down. My god, why are people throwing around so much money for that thing? And besides, isn't it obvious it's a legendary weapon made by Legum himself? Legum got even more irritated as the explanation continued. You might not know this, but there's a reason people act like this. Accessories, charms, tools, magic weapons, every divine relic he made is considered the best of the best. Anyone interested in divine relics will do anything to get their hands on one, especially the Saint of Leo, Stephen Marker Markin. He's a serious case. He's been collecting Legum's relics all over the world. He's overwhelmingly powerful for a saint, so people are afraid to challenge him when it comes to Legum's relics. It's a shame the relics ended up filling only part of his collection. I need to calm down, all the profit is going into the government-managed bank account anyway. Then our protagonist paused. Wait, the profit goes to my bank account? So no matter who buys it, that's great. Fine, whoever wants it can go ahead and buy it. And the bidding kept going. Stephen Marker suddenly shouts, 1 billion. I'll pay 1 billion, he says, and the whole place freezes. He starts walking forward and snaps. Didn't you hear me? I'm buying this relic for $1 billion. If that's not enough, I can make it 10 billion. The announcer stares for a second, then repeats 1 billion, an overwhelming bid of 1 billion. Everyone else is basically done right there. No one can match that kind of money. Even Sungjae and the man with glasses look crushed. Do something, but there's nothing they can do. Meanwhile, Jian just watches the whole thing like it's a show. Then the announcer calls out, sold. The great bone has been sold for an unbelievable $1 billion. After that, the scene cuts to some cleaners talking nearby. One of them says, did you hear? They said it sold for $1 billion. Yeah, that's not the kind of money anyone can just throw around. People like us can't even dream of numbers like that. Honestly, I just hope someone shows up and wrecks that guy. But then something catches their attention, and when they look up, a massive ice dragon is right in front of them. The man instantly takes it back. Back at the auction, Stephen is celebrating with his prize in hand. But honestly, to Jian, that legendary relic still just looks like a normal bone. Stephen can barely contain himself. I got it. I really got it. The people around him cheer and congratulate him, calling him the greatest. Then a huge explosion erupts right in front of him. As Stephen wonders what's going on, that giant ice dragon appears. Panic breaks out at once. People start screaming that a calamity has appeared, and the creature says only one thing. I found Legum's relic. Its eyes lock onto Stephen, and it lets out a deafening roar. Then it charges straight at him at full speed. Stephen just grins and starts calling up his lightning power. He swings hard and sends the dragon flying. The impact wrecks everything in its path. Laughing, Stephen says this is the first time he's ever felt thankful for a calamity, because thanks to it, he gets to test this divine artifact right away. He stands there full of confidence, throwing around lightning while gripping the bone. Still, something feels off about it. Then the damage from that attack becomes clear. Someone realizes this is bad. The teleport zone's magic tower is collapsing because Stephen blasted the dragon into it. Everyone is horrified. If all that debris hits the ground, the floating island could fall. Someone quickly orders the disciples to combine their strength and block it. Others jump in too, saying they'll help. So everyone starts gathering their power, pouring out mana until it forms into a huge sphere they launch upward. They fire it into the sky with a shout, and the blast slams into the tower, stopping it from crashing onto the crowd. But people immediately realize it still won't be enough. The structure is too huge to destroy in time. Panic spreads again as people yell for everyone to run. Then someone calls out, Apollo's Fury. A giant whirl of flame sweeps over the area and stops the debris from falling on the people below. In an instant, the wreckage turns to ash. Everyone recognizes that skill. It's Hugo the Sagittarius Saint. Hugo appears with his bow in hand. Annoyed, he mutters that idiot lion really needs to learn how to control his strength, because that was dangerous. People thank Hugo, but then something else catches his eye. He looks to the side and sees another huge monster staring at him. This one looks like a dog mixed with a dinosaur, and it's already preparing to attack. Hugo realizes there's another one. The creature keeps staring at him, and then fleshy tentacles shoot out toward the people nearby. The tentacles latch onto them, and the victims start screaming for help. Furious, Hugo curses it. He pulls back his bow to strike, but a roar suddenly sounds behind him, and he turns at once. It's the blue dragon Stephen hit earlier, coming in with its jaws wide open. Hugo realizes too late it's about to take him down. Right then, just like the last chapter teased, the chaos reaches its peak. The monster had come up from behind Hugo, and when he turned, its mouth was already closing in. Everything looked over, until Jian rushes in and slams the monster away. Hugo jumps in shock and yells out to him, "Hey, pay attention." The protagonist sends the monster flying, and Hugo thanks him, saying he just got saved. Jian fires back that Hugo should be the combat saint, so why does he have to save him? He even asks how Hugo can be weaker than a production saint like him. MC says he gets nervous every time he leaves Hugo alone. That leaves Hugo looking completely depressed, and the two start bickering like usual. Then something grabs their attention again. It's Stephen, running over while shouting and holding up the bone. He yells, "Don't interfere, I'm testing my new weapon." The monster roars back at him, and Jian realizes he almost forgot that thing was still here. Then from above, Steven starts building up lightning again, shouting that no one should ruin the stage prepared for him in the Great Bone. But Jian notices something strange while the monster keeps growling at him. Steven then unleashes his sovereign skill, Battlefield of the Victors. A massive shield of lightning forms around the area. Smirking, he tells them to watch closely. Inside this unbreakable thunderstorm, he says that before he was unprepared and had to fight back using only magic, but now they'll see the true power of the Great Bone. The crowd starts praising Steven, calling him the strongest saint and saying not even Ligum could stand against him. All fired up, Steven drags that giant bone forward. Jian still isn't buying it. Steven declares that the monster should prepare for his fury, then brings the bone down on its head. The monster doesn't move. Steven just stares at it. Everyone else is confused too. Steven slowly steps back, still watching the monster as it stares right back. He scratches his head, and the monster somehow looks just as confused. Then Steven gets mad, winds up again, and starts hammering it with hit after hit. The monster finally loses patience and punches him in the face, sending him flying. As he tumbles back, Steven can't understand it. Those attacks should have landed, so why isn't Ligum's weapon working? The scene shifts to Jian, who's touching the lightning barrier that trapped them inside. He swears that once they get out, he won't go easy on that stupid lion. Using his own sovereign skill like this was unbelievably dumb. Still, Jian decides that first things first, they need to deal with the enemies in front of them. Then we see all the people possessed by the monster. They look like a pack of zombies, and Hugo remembers something. These people aren't actually part of the calamity. They were just caught by its ability, and since they're standing in front of it, it's probably using them as hostages. That means they can't attack carelessly. The possessed people beg for help as they stagger toward them, but Jian says maybe they have no choice except to aim for the head. Hugo panics and asks what he's even talking about. He admits he doesn't really have a plan. He just wants to rip those things off them. Hugo begs him to wait, but one of the monsters lunges at Jian with its mouth wide open. The protagonist grabs it by the head, gives it a cold look and says now. Then he tears the monster's ability right off like it's nothing. Hugo is left staring in shock while the others keep looking on. Jian just grins and says it's simple. The victim collapses, but now he's free of the monster's control. Hugo asks if the guy is okay. MC says he probably is. He's just unconscious. Hugo still can't believe what he saw and asks how Jian did that. He says it was just brute force. Hugo answers that he can't do that because he's not absurdly strong like him. The protagonist shrugs and says he'll take care of all of them anyway. He adds that he never expected much from a weakling like Hugo. That only makes Hugo even madder. Still, Hugo says they can't just charge in blindly, so he'll cover MC. The two start powering up. Hugo with flames, Jian with black lightning. He asks Ifuro if he still remembers how to do this. Ifuro answers with a confident smile. The protagonist tells him to keep up. Hugo summons his firebow, and Jian says instead of standing around, they should finish this now. The monster and the possessed people all turn toward MC. He gets ready and bursts forward at high speed, striking right through the middle of them. His lightning spreads out, hitting every possessed person and destroying the monster's control over them. The creature stares at Jian in shock, then fires a bunch of slime shots at him. He dodges them all with ease, but then notices the monster wasn't just aiming at him, it was targeting the civilians he had just saved. As they start waking up, the monster tries to possess them again. From the back, Hugo gathers his power and fires a rain of flaming arrows that destroys the attack before it can reach them. The civilians flinch and shield themselves. With a serious look, Hugo says that as long as he's here, the monster won't touch those people. Jian praises him, then calls out to the ugly thing, telling it to stop wasting time and come at him. The monster locks onto the protagonist as he pulls back for a huge punch and blasts the creature away, flying into the sky, and the creature lets out a rough scream. But Jian's hit tears the monster apart in one shot. Then he just stands there like it was nothing. Just what you'd expect from MC, he ended it instantly. With that thing gone, the people it controlled should wake up soon. They're all lying on the ground, slowly recovering. Then something catches Jian's attention, and he pauses. He tries to figure out what's going on, when one system window after another starts popping up, listing all the skills he just got. One of them is Fighter's Instinct, level 1. The system asks if he wants to use it, and Jian thinks, Fighter's Instinct? So this skill needs a certain amount of divine power to work. Guess this is the perfect time to test it. He accepts. The scene shifts to Steven, still holding his bone. He curses under his breath, wondering how things got this bad. Why isn't the Great Bone working? Is he really unable to use its true power, or is he actually weaker than that monster? As he stares at the giant creature, people panic, saying Steven is getting cornered. Then they notice something else. Jian's energy starts spreading through the whole area, and with his bare hands he rips open the skill Steven had used. Steven can't believe it. His sovereign skill was broken. Feeling real danger now, the monster decides it needs to grab the divine relic first, then kill Jian. The moment it lunges in to bite him, he snaps, "Shut up." Then he slams it down, sending it crashing so hard everyone has to brace against the shockwave. Steven gets thrown back while Jian just stands there calmly, one hand in his pocket. The monster is smashed into the ground, and it can't understand how a human could be this strong. It even asks if the protagonist is really human. Jian fires back. "What the hell are you talking about, idiot?" Then he stomps down again and wrecks everything around him. Steven watches in disbelief, muttering that there was only ever one person with this kind of destructive power. He is. Before he can finish, Jian looks at him with a creepy smile and says it's good to see him again. He calls him a damn lion and says he's been having fun dragging MC's name through the dirt. Steven is already on the ground shaking. He stammers that it can't be possible, then swings at Jian, but he freezes, because he catches the great bone like it's nothing. Trembling all over, Steven listens as the protagonist says he must have had a lot of fun playing with this. Then Jian crushes the bone in his bare hands and says sorry to ruin his hopes, but it's just an ordinary bone. He tosses the pieces right at Steven's face, and the guy realizes all that effort was for nothing. So MC says it's only fair that he gets his turn. Steven begs him to wait, but there's no time. Jian punches him straight into the ground, blasting through the entire place and out the other side. Cursing him, Steven drops into open space. Far away, the saint lies there, still unconscious, slowly waking up. Confused, she wonders where she is and why her head hurts. Back with Jian, Hugo can only stare at the huge hole he made. The protagonist casually says goodbye to that damn lion, if he's still alive, of course. Hugo asks why he threw him from that high up. Jian shrugs. With a body that tough, he'll probably survive somehow. Maybe. Hugo asks if the captured people are okay, and MC points out that they clearly are. Everyone is celebrating because they survived the calamity. Then he snaps his fingers and calls over Piggy, the former Pichu, who's now one of his pets. He tells Piggy to go collect anything valuable. Hugo sighs. Jian is still as greedy as ever. The pet starts sucking up treasures while the two talk like nothing happened. Hugo asks about the person who lent the protagonist a phone. MC says he thinks the guy's name was Sung Jae. That answer hits Hugo hard. Jian adds that it was probably Sung Jae, someone tied to Gemini, and still young too, but the kid seemed really sharp, so he thinks he's worth keeping close. Hugo starts shaking because the protagonist is talking about the very son he never wanted near him. In his head, he's screaming that Sung Jae really went and got involved with this walking disaster. He tries to remember the boy's face, thinking about how careful he'd been to keep Jian away from his kids. Those two absolutely idolize MC, and if they learn he's alive, his family is doomed. He mentions Sung Jae was with a Gemini bishop who can use teleportation magic, so if he calls them, they'll probably all show up at once. That makes Hugo panic, and he quickly says they need to leave right now. Jian asks why, so Hugo tries to make up an excuse, saying the protagonist must be tired and shouldn't bother with Gemini. MC pauses at that. Then he remembers all the trouble he caused with Sung Jae before and admits Hugo might be right. Maybe they really don't like him. Sorry, Sung Jae. Hugo keeps trying to brush it off and steer Jian away from Gemini, but right then someone calls out, "Dad." Hugo turns at once. That voice, and then comes the question. Are they talking about Jian? At that moment, Sung Jae appears behind them, leaving Hugo stunned. Hugo blurts out Sung Jae's name, shocked that he's already here. Sung Jae tells his father to tell the truth, while Hugo fumbles for words. But before they can sort it out, the monster starts mumbling Jian's name and fires off another wave of slime attacks. They head straight for him, but just before they hit, Lime appears out of nowhere and sucks up the entire monster until nothing is left. The system announces, Divine Relic, Omnipresent Mud Dumpling. Poison resistance acquired. The skill range of body of 100 poisons has expanded. When creating a divine artifact, poison resistance will now be added as a basic effect. Jian just stares at Lime eating the monster, then suddenly starts yelling in anger. He can't believe the glutton tried to eat trash like that off the ground. Telling it to spit it out right now, he grabs poor Lime and starts shaking it, while Hugo watches and thinks, that thing came out of the bone calamity. This could have turned really dangerous. Sung Jae asks if that slime could be the one from the stories, and Hugo realizes he's right. He saw it in a book. It was Jian's artifact, the amazing skill the protagonist showed earlier, that raw magical power, the one person his shut-in father was friends with, and now that slime Jian is holding. Sung Jae starts wondering if this really is MC, getting more emotional by the second. Meanwhile, Hugo just keeps taking mental arrows, looking totally crushed, while Sung Jae's eyes shine with excitement. He's still annoyed, keeps tugging on Lime. Then the scene shifts to the United States, at the Lion Temple headquarters. Inside a meeting room with Lion's top executives, everyone is arguing because they still haven't found the Lion Saint. Since Gemini is famous for tracking people, someone says they should pay whatever it takes to make them find him. This is Oliver, Lion's bishop, the same man who was staring down Dioclus a few episodes back. Someone asks if Gemini would even help after the mess he caused before. Oliver grumbles that he was only trying to look cool since it was his first big appearance. The discussion keeps going, until one of them cautiously asks if the one who beat their leader could really have been Jian. Oliver brushes it off, saying that even if it was the protagonist, he was beaten once before. Besides, among all the saints, theirs is the strongest. Then suddenly, a phone starts ringing in the background with a song mocking the lions and praising Jian instead. The whole room goes silent and stares. She awkwardly apologizes, saying she forgot to put her phone on silent. The one speaking is Yoram, Lion's vice castellan, and one of its cardinals. A man snaps at her in disbelief, asking what she thinks she's doing when they're in a meeting to find their saint. Yoram casually asks why they should even look for that bastard. Everyone is stunned, and she quickly says, fine, why should they look for him anyway? The guy's tough, he'll survive somehow. Now everyone is wondering if that really was a slip, while another executive complains angrily. But Yirin checks her phone and reads the message. Nona, we've got a new uncle now. He's super cool, so come home fast. The legends were true. For context, Nona is basically like calling an older sister sis. The angry executive keeps shouting, asking if she's even listening. But Yirin is stuck on one thing. An uncle? What does that mean? So she announces she's leaving and tells them to decide the rest on their own. Then she turns around and walks out, leaving everyone staring. The man with glasses is left fuming, yelling after her. Then the story moves to the Aquarius dorm, where Sophie and Marty live. A crowd keeps begging, asking the saint to say something. They want answers about the drachma incident, Ligam's part in it, and who was taken there. They also demand the truth about what happened 20 years ago, but her guards step in and shut it down. They say the saint needs rest today. Any answers will come later, through an official channel, so everyone needs to leave. Upstairs, Sophie watches all this with suspicion. With a face mask on, she fumes over Ligam. She can't believe he stirred up this much chaos. Her mind goes back to the disaster in Drachma. People were panicking and yelling for space. Rumors spread that the saint had been kidnapped and then released by bold criminals. Wrapped up and looking miserable, she stayed silent. Then the necklace Ligam put on her starts glowing green. Everyone panics thinking it's an attack, but then they realize it's some kind of message. A hologram appears. Who killed me, Ligam? Tell everyone the truth about 20 years ago. Sophie panics, not knowing what to do. If she tells the truth, the other saints will come after her. If she stays quiet, Li Jian definitely won't let it go either. She's furious that he did this to her while she was passed out. Worse, she can't even take the necklace off. Screaming in frustration, she swears he'll pay for this. In her mind, all of it is Li Jian's fault. Meanwhile, far away, our guy's completely relaxed. With Cafrino stretching out on his legs, he takes it easy. He casually says maybe he should do some farming today. Then we cut to someone watching the news. The reporter says Sophie Marty still hasn't come out of her sacred dorm, and she hasn't made any statement at all. Out of everything that happened after Drachma, this may end up causing the biggest fallout, but Li Jian thinks that still won't be enough. Then the scene shifts to Hugo's house, the Saint of Sagittarius. A shot lands right in the center, 10 points. The one who fired it was Hugo. Using his new bow, he waits for Li Jian's opinion. Asked what he thinks, Hugo says it's perfect. To him it's way better than the one that old goat made before. Li, the 1100th, instantly gets annoyed by the comparison. Then he destroys the arrow that just hit the target. Smirking, he calls that a real 10 points. Hugo stares and asks if he really had to shoot like that. Even blindfolded, Li Jian hit Hugo's arrow exactly. He says shooting arrows is fun too. Hugo complains that he did it on purpose and didn't need to aim at his shot. He laughs and admits he only did it to mess with Tyson. Just then, someone walks up beside him. It's Sungjae, warmly offering Li Jian water and a towel, asking him to help himself. The protagonist thanks him. The two sit there peacefully, while Sungjae looks after him. Behind them, Hugo burns with jealousy. So he asks Sungjae if he brought water for his dad too. Sungjae tells him it's in the fridge and he can get it himself. Li Jian can only grin at that. While Hugo sulks, MC starts thinking. After what happened in Drachma, his stats went up, so maybe it's time to invest them. The system announces that Ophiuchus' sacred domain, the Serpent Palace, has been created. Since the domain is still low level, the space is small. The sacred domain is where the Constellation Master lives. It's also a private territory where that master can store and use power. Now Li Jian can control his own domain. He can even teleport the low-class avatar Cafrino into it. The system adds that human avatars can strengthen the domain further. That part catches his attention. Then Sungjae reminds him it's almost time to leave, saying he has things to handle too and they should go together. Li Jian realizes he lost track of time. Hugo asks if he has a meeting, and he says yes. He's got a lot of people to meet today. Sometime later, Divine Captain Choi asks if Li the protagonist is finally going to join Gemini. Li Jian keeps eating fried chicken and asks if this guy ever gets tired of asking. Even the worker nearby is shocked by how much he's eating. Choi says he may be busy, but recruiting talented people is always worth the time. He also says Li the 1100th shouldn't act innocent. After all, he used Gemini's money to buy all those auction items in Drachma that were worth millions. Li Jian just plays dumb right to his face. He calmly wipes his mouth like nothing happened. Inside, Choi realizes that was exactly his plan, and curses him for it. At first, he thought Li the protagonist was just annoying, but now he's starting to like this. Li Jian, meanwhile, remembers the saints he's already gotten revenge on. Next on his list is that purple witch. Then he agrees to join Gemini. Choi quickly says they should set an official date, but Li the 1100th has one condition. He wants the badge Choi is wearing. The others get angry right away, saying the saint herself gave that to him. Li Jian tells them to stay out of it. The adults are talking. He points out that the badge is needed to use Gemini's privileges. They can promise support later if they want, but he only trusts promises when he's holding something real. Surely they can invest at least that much in someone talented. Choi doesn't know how to answer, and the others keep telling him not to accept. Li Jian tells them to decide fast, since he has another meeting after this. Then he checks his chat with Sungjae. The scene switches to Sungjae reading the message he just sent. The protagonist says he'll be a little late, and Sungjae answers that he can take all the time he needs. The protagonist says okay. While calmly using his phone, Sungjae thinks to himself that Nona will be shocked when she finds out Lee Jian is his uncle. He's excited to see her reaction for the first time in ages. He also plans to ask for an autograph on the dagger MC prepared for him. But suddenly someone grabs it away, warning that playing with something like that is dangerous. The man says he'll be confiscating it. Sungjae protests and demands to know what he means. The one bothering him is the A-rank Gemini Templar, Yeon-woo. Sungjae tells him to give it back. Yeon-woo talks down to him, asking if that's how he speaks to a superior. He says they like coming to this cafe too. Sungjae is fed up with him. He curses his luck and wishes he had gone somewhere else. He wants to hit him but holds back because this guy is Libra's son. That's why he acts so important. Then a system window pops up. The relic Janice's desire reacts to its master being in danger. Random skill activated. Light starts pouring out of the dagger and the blonde guy freezes, confused. Then Lee Jian's head suddenly appears right in front of him and slams straight into his face. Everyone with him is left staring in shock, not understanding what they're seeing. The dagger has literally summoned Lee Jian into midair. The blonde guy crashes to the floor while Sungjae lights up, happy that he finally arrived. Lee, the protagonist, looks around in confusion and asks if that's really Sungjae and what he's doing here. Meanwhile, the other guy cries about his nose. Sungjae asks how he knew to show up right then. Lee Jian says he was just eating fried chicken at a restaurant when the one-time summoning skill he put in the dagger must have activated. That tells him enough, and he looks down at the blonde guy. So these punks threaten Sungjae. He asks how they dared mess with his nephew. The others are shaken, wondering if Sungjae ever mentioned having some gangster uncle. None of them remember that, but they all agree this guy is terrifying. Lee Jian steps in, ready to show them what happens when someone touches one of his own. They all panic, and then the story jumps back to the restaurant. Before Lee the 1100th got summoned, Bear Choi had already accepted his deal. Even while thinking this was a bad idea, he decided Lee Jian was worth spending millions on if it meant recruiting him. He also planned to take the badge back later by sneaking a special clause into the contract. Handing it over, he tells him not to use it carelessly, and he says he'll try. Choi then asks for the contract, but just as he's about to hand it over, Lee Jian vanishes right in front of him. Choi can only stare in disbelief. Then the waitress arrives with the bill, $790. They're stunned that he spent all that just on chicken. The scene returns to the cafe, where the guys are already beaten and sprawled across the floor. The blonde one tries to act tough, bragging that he's from Gemini and filthy rich. Lee Jian doesn't care at all and keeps slapping him around again and again until the guy starts begging him to stop. Lee, the protagonist, tells him to get up. He's only warming up. The guy panics because his magic defense isn't working. Furious, he snaps back, calling Lee Jian an arrogant worm, bull of Phalaris. The monster calls out a giant summon behind him. MC just watches it without flinching. Everyone else panics and starts yelling for people to run. They know this place is about to turn into total chaos. Jian mocks him, saying this is what he gets for acting so tough. Then he sighs and calls the guy way too loud. He says he expected something amazing, but that power is useless, not even good enough to light charcoal. A system message pops up. He mastered the enemy's magic and got data from Bola Phalaris, rank SS. The blonde guy is stunned and asks how that's possible. Was Jian a mage? He answers no, he's a blacksmith. After that, more system messages start showing up, one after another. The last one asks if he wants to use the data as a skill. Jian says he'll show him how that skill is really supposed to be used. He calls out, "Burning manly bull of Phalaris." A huge minotaur appears, and it tears through everything in its path. Sometime later, the blonde guy is smashed into a wall, completely wrecked. Jian warns him, if he messes with Cheon Sungjae again, he'll end up skewered. He tells Sungjae not to be scared of idiots like that because his uncle will protect him. Sungjae happily agrees. Right then, Chen Yoha finally arrives, asking where Chen Sungjae is. She looks at the destruction around her and wonders what happened, and if he's okay. But Sungjae rushes up excitedly and says she won't believe it. He points ahead and tells her to come see the hero who beat countless calamities and saved humanity over and over. The same legend from the videos they used to watch again and again as kids. We see little Sungjae and little Yoha watching Jan back then. Now she stares at him in disbelief and whispers, "Mr. the protagonist?" She even pinches herself to check if this is real. Glowing with excitement, she realizes it really is him. She can't believe how handsome he looks now. 20 years ago, he had all kinds of scars, and after spending 20 years in the Devil Tower, she thought he'd look even worse. But she tells herself that doesn't matter. What matters is the amazing hero he is. She's just so happy that Mr. Jane is okay. Sungjae points out she said all that out loud, and she gets embarrassed. MC simply smiles at her and says it's a pleasure to meet her too. She introduces herself as Chen Yoha and thanks him for helping Sungjae. He tells her she doesn't need to be so formal. Since she's Hugo's daughter, she's basically his niece too. Those words hit her hard and she gets emotional. She apologizes for asking this right after meeting him, but she has a favor to ask. Chen Yoha tells her not to be shy, wondering if she wants an autograph. She starts asking if, when he has time, he could, but right then, a lava monster rises behind him with a roar. Chanyo reacts to the shout, confused about what kind of favor this even is, but then he realizes the roar came from the monster behind them. Yoha instantly cuts its head off, while Sungjai hides behind the protagonist. She tells MC to give her a moment. She'll ask properly after she deals with these calamities. Then she dashes off at full speed. Sungjai says she only got like this because of Jaeon, so he asks, "What did your sister just say? She wants to ask for my hand? What is that supposed to mean?" The scene shifts outside, where an announcement warns that multiple calamities have appeared, and this is not a drill. Everyone needs to evacuate to safety. Calamities fill the sky while giant worm-like monsters tear through the city. People run in panic, but one monster is already full of holes like Swiss cheese. The one who did it is Yoha with her spear. More calamities rush toward her, but she pushes herself harder, saying she needs to be faster. She keeps cutting them down one after another. She wants to finish this even quicker so she can go talk to her uncle. Even then, more calamities keep roaring overhead. Seeing the destruction spread, she gets annoyed that they won't stop appearing, and decides to wipe them all out at once. She starts spinning her spear as she charges straight at them. Yoha shouts for them not to interrupt her proposal. Then she hurls her spear and it destroys every calamity in its path. She declares the name of the move, Lotus Fleisch. The attack leaves massive destruction behind. From a distance, Chanyo watches it all and thinks he followed her because he was worried, but that clearly wasn't needed. Her combat sense is even better than Hugo's. When Yuhai notices Jian, she gets distracted, and at that moment, a calamity appears right behind her. Just before it can grab her, he steps in and saves both her and Qian Sungjai. Blushing hard, she says it's amazing that he even avoided her last attack. She says there really are impressive humans out there. Then a fierce monster woman appears holding a whip. She says Jian will become her special pet. She's riding a giant mutant turtle-like beast. She asks the protagonist why everyone these days keeps playing with fire. Jian says he wasn't looking for trouble, but he does need materials to make more relics, so he'll use this chance. She declares he'll be her #1 fuel source and a fun human to train. MC realizes who they are, the unusual race, and says he needs to stop them now. Then he asks Yuhai why she's so distracted. He points out she was about to fight them alone again. He tells her to leave this to him and protect the civilians with Sungjai. He trusts them because they're both strong, so they should leave these two enemies to him. Yuhai smiles and agrees. Sungjai then starts summoning his giant construct, while Yuhai readies her spear again. Jian tells them they should have a little fun. Just then the monster woman lunges at him with her whip, screaming for more. She wants him to suffer even more. Jian keeps one hand in his pocket as he dodges every strike. She finally catches him with the whip, but he stays completely calm while she celebrates, saying it'll be even more fun to train him now. She flings him into the air, then smashes him through several buildings before finally slamming him into the ground. But he just tears her whip apart and tells her she talks too much for someone this weak. He asks if that's all she's got. The monster woman grins and says of course not. And then her turtle breathes a blast of fire at Jian. A huge explosion erupts. Meanwhile, Sungjai's giant summon shields people from the debris and tells them to evacuate quickly. Sungjai is proud that he managed to get everyone out. He tells Yuhai to evacuate the remaining civilians, and she agrees. But then she looks back at the explosion where Jian was. She knows he's strong, but he's fighting the illusion race, one of the most dangerous calamities, at least red class. Even the protagonist could have trouble with that, especially if he still has wounds or side effects from the Devil Tower. If that's true, she needs to help him. Sungjai reminds her, Jian told them to stay back, but she says she'll return soon and tells him to hide. The area is left completely wrecked by the attack, yet MC is still standing in the middle of it. The monster says she pushed too hard and didn't mean to turn him to ashes. Jian laughs and says now that's real fire. At least this much heat counts, unlike that pathetic flame from the Gemini blonde guy. This one will definitely work as his #1 fuel source. A system message appears, usable fire obtained for the creation workshop. The monster is shocked that he survived her hellfire attack. Jian says that now he has fire, there's no reason to hold back. He summons the Hammer of Creation. The system confirms usable fire has been detected in the creation workshop. Workshop level 1 activates repairs, upgrades, and attribute enhancement with initial luck being applied. Then it tells him to choose a target for enhancement. Jian says he's already picked the target. A green circle forms around him, and the monster woman watches from afar, confused. She decides not to let him finish, but right then Yoha appears behind her and activates a skill, Lightning Roar. A massive red bolt crashes down on the monster woman. But Yoha is shocked when it does absolutely nothing. The monster curses her and sends her flying far away. Yoha coughs up blood from the hit, and the monster orders her giant beast to finish the job. Just as the huge thing opens its jaws to swallow Yoha, something stops it and yanks it back. Yoha wonders what happened and sees Jian holding the beast by its tail. He asks where it thinks it's going because it's still supposed to play with him, then slams the giant creature into the ground. So it only looked like a turtle. It's actually a lizard. The beast crashes down with its mouth hanging open. Even the monster woman is stunned that Jian grabbed and threw the hell lizard with his bare hands. He warns her that if she touches Yoha again, he'll wipe out her whole race. She feels a terrifying pressure and starts to panic. It feels like his presence is swallowing her whole. She can't believe it, A mere human is overwhelming a proud member of the illusion race. Then she decides she's done playing. She starts transforming, and while Yoha shields herself from the huge power, Jian stays calm. The monster admits she hates using this form since she can't train him like this. But now she has no choice except to treat him as a real enemy. She's a Red Danger class calamity from the illusion race, Infernal Wings. She vows to burn Jian and the whole area to ashes. Then she activates a calamity skill, Infernal Prison, and she rushes straight at the protagonist at top speed. She charges in, tearing through everything around her, but right before the hit lands, Jian catches her attack with one hand. Yoha panics and starts shouting for MC, and then a huge blast erupts there. The shockwave wrecks the nearby buildings, and the monster freezes in disbelief, as he calmly says, "Wow, that worked even better than I thought." Then the system announces, plastic gloves upgraded with Hellwing Fire can touch C-rank flames, fire resistance granted. Random luck bonus +1 resistance when eating spicy food. Low durability, one-time use. What the hell is this? He stopped my infernal prison with nothing but plastic gloves? Right after that, Jian's regeneration kicks in, and the damage from the attack starts healing fast. I'm making you pay for setting the whole city on fire. From now on, you're going to keep my creation workshop burning at all times. What kind of insult is this? Insult? What are you talking about? You're seriously looking down on the power of my plastic gloves. Do you even know how useful they are for eating spicy chicken? The system warns that the negative energy is too strong to turn Hellwings into a diabolic avatar. Purification is required. Purification? Oh, you mean this? Purifying punch. Jian starts throwing punch after punch, while her giant lizard just stares in shock behind him. After a while, the protagonist grumbles, "Why is it so hard to purify you?" Then the system replies, "Target fully defeated. Dead targets cannot be purified." Huh, she died that easily. What a pain. I guess I've got no choice. Since my fire source broke, I'll use you instead. The Calamity Infernal Lizard surrenders. Infernal Lizard has become a diabolic captive. The little lizard pops up and waves a white flag at Jian. Alright then, what should your name be? Option 1, Torch. Option 2, Gas Tank. Option 3, Lantern. Option 4, Charcoal. And Option 5, Lala Lizard. The poor thing just stands there, totally stunned. Every name is worse than the last. What kind of terrible naming sense is this? Then the system announces that it chose the name Torch. Uncle MC, is everything okay over there? Yuha checks on him, and MC asks if they're alright too. They say they're fine, but Yuha adds that there's something she wants to ask him. That makes him remember what she said earlier, that she would properly ask for his hand after they dealt with these calamities. Jian is stunned. Wait, she wants to ask for my hand? Before he can finish that thought, she cuts in and asks, "Uncle, you didn't really sacrifice yourself in the Devil's Tower, did you?" The protagonist blinks. Huh? What do you mean? Yufa says she's always wondered about it. Everyone called it a sacrifice for humanity, but something about the Red Eyes incident never made sense. When humanity was almost wiped out, how could Jian, the strongest saint, be the one who fell? There was no proof and no way to investigate, so she had to keep those doubts to herself. But after seeing how strong he still is today, she's sure of it now. Jian didn't sacrifice himself. He was trapped by someone else's evil plan. MC admits she's sharp, just like Tyson's daughter. He tells her that yes, that's exactly what happened. 20 years ago, he was betrayed inside the Devil's Tower and stabbed in the back by one of the 12 saints who went with him to defeat Red Eyes. What? That can't be. Yuhi can't understand it. Weren't the saints supposed to save the world with you, Uncle Jian? You were humanity's hope, so why would they do that? He says the reason was probably that he was simply better than all of them. After he defeated Red Eyes by himself, they likely tried to kill him for that very reason. With the leader of the calamities gone, they could rule the world however they wanted. And the biggest thing standing in the way of their ambition was Jian himself. He says he can't be completely sure, but that's the only explanation that fits. Yusha was horrified. That means Jian was trapped in the tower all alone, while the other saints stole the honor and glory that should have been his for saving humanity. The protagonist thanks them, then tells them not to cry. He promises he'll make those people pay back 1,000,000 times over for everything they did. The others are left speechless, until Jian suddenly says, "Alright, let's see." He checks the news on his phone and finds a headline. Saint Sophie, Marty makes sudden visit to Korea. Press conference today at 7 p.m. That's the last thing on my schedule today. The scene shifts to the conference venue, where the saint is already there in a very fancy hall. Reporters crowd around, taking pictures and recording, all waiting to hear what she has to say, while two people whisper nearby. One wonders what could be important enough for her to call this press conference. The other guesses it's probably about the strange message that appeared on her necklace in drachma. Or maybe it has something to do with the recent rumors that Jian survived. Either way, they're sure she's about to reveal something huge. Sophie tries to keep up a graceful pose, but inside, she's panicking. Oh god, I'm dead. Should I just forget this press conference and run? But with that relic hanging around her neck, she has no idea what it might do to her. It could even be a bomb. If she wants to live, she has to do what Jian said. She imagines MC controlling her like a puppet, and realizes one thing for sure. Unlike the other saints, he was not bluffing when he said he'd get rid of her. That thought leaves her trembling. Then she finally says the reason she called everyone here today is to reveal the truth about something that happened 20 years ago. She asks if everyone remembers the incident at the Devil's Tower back then. People immediately react. The Devil's Tower? You mean the Red Eyes raid? They completed that raid, didn't they? That's why the 12 saints are still called heroes today. Sophie takes a breath and says the truth is, the real hero who defeated Red Eyes that day was Jian. At first, the crowd just repeats his name in confusion. Some even think it's old news, but then it sinks in, and the whole room explodes in shock. Reporters start yelling, "Saint, what do you mean? Is that true? Are you saying Jian alone killed Red Eyes, not Stephen Marker? Tell us what really happened." The room turns into chaos. Does that mean the protagonist is alive, and the saints lied this whole time? Sophie hesitates, not knowing how to answer. Just as she's about to confirm it, someone cuts her off, saying that's obviously impossible. A sinister man appears behind her. She turns pale with fear. "You, Jin Louis? It's cancer. Saint Jin Louis Morin." He looks at her and mocks how pale she is. According to him, she clearly isn't in any condition to keep speaking. "Isn't that right, Sophie?" He keeps up the fake concern. "You really don't look well, Saints. Seems like this conference can't go on, Sophie." She tries to answer, but he snaps at her to shut up. He demands to know what she thinks she's saying, with the microphone still on, and reminds her to know her place. All she had to do, he says, was keep pretending to be a saint like she always had. So what exactly is she complaining about enough to pull something like this? If she doesn't want everyone to see him rip her mouth apart, she'd better stay quiet. Then he switches off her microphone and turns to the press. He apologizes to the reporters and claims that Sophie is being blackmailed into giving false testimony. Still, he says not to worry. He'll keep her safe. After apologizing again to the media, he announces that the conference is over. The reporters protest at once. "Over? What about Jian?" At that moment, dark power starts pouring out of him toward the crowd as he says MC died in the demonic tower 20 years ago. What else do you need to know? He argues that if Jian had really come back, he would have shown himself by now. So why hasn't he appeared? But the reporters push back. If Sophie is being blackmailed, why is the blackmailer using his name? If the conference ends like this, suspicion toward the saints will only grow. So they demand that he explain himself. That only makes him angrier. "Damn insects. Learn your place." He starts gathering power in his hand when a voice from behind suddenly says, "Look at that face of yours. Are you really trying to wipe out all the reporters?" The second he hears that, Jian's foot comes flying straight at his face. As a reminder, the last chapter ended with that creepy guy showing up to meet the saint. And just when he tries to get rid of all the reporters, our guy comes in with a flying kick that lands clean, sending him flying across the room while everyone watches in shock. Sophie stares and cries out, "Oh my god, he's here." The man can barely process it. What the hell was that? Jian smirks. "It's been a while, hasn't it, you rotten crab? Your face is still as wrinkled as ever. Here's a little gift for you." Then he slams something right into him. The man stares. That's a tail?" The scene briefly cuts to Torch, Jian's new little mascot, now missing part of his tail. Then it jumps back to the protagonist, holding the poor lizard's tail as he says, "Hey rotten crab, who do you think you are, shutting down this conference?" People in the crowd start whispering, "Wait, isn't that the infernal lizard's tail?" But then the man appears behind MC and says the same thing himself. "Isn't that the infernal lizard's tail? I heard someone defeated it right after it appeared, so that was you." Jian clicks his tongue. "You've got to be kidding, just a clone?" He's surprised he figured out his division skill at a glance. Then he asks, "Who the hell are you?" He answers like it's obvious. "Me? Who do you think I am? My name is him." The whole room goes silent in shock when he says it. Everyone stares at him, and then one person suddenly laughs. That breaks the tension, and soon the whole crowd is laughing. He says he's Jian. What a joke. Another reporter mocks him, saying he's way too handsome to be the protagonist. So now they're all making fun of our guy. "Looks like you've got some skill, but you're also completely delusional. If you wanted to show off, you should have picked a better target." But Jian doesn't even let him finish. He swings the tail down hard and smashes the guy, sending him rolling across the floor while MC starts spinning the infernal lizard's tail in his hand. "Seriously, do all of you need a beating to get it? What are you all staring at? Come at me." He lunges at the reporters and they run for their lives, screaming for someone to get him out of there. Sophie thinks this is her chance to escape. But right then Jian appears behind her, and she freezes up. "Oh no, where do you think you're going, pest? You're going to finish your little speech. Tell them how you all escaped from Red Eye 20 years ago, and how you lived like kings after leaving me there to die. Go on, say it all." The guy snaps back, calling him a bastard. But before he can go on, the whole place starts shaking and the system warns them. A threatening energy from the darkest star is getting close. Black power starts covering the entire area, and Jian begins to break apart. Everyone stares in shock, not knowing what's happening. "My god, impossible. What have I done?" "It's not you, idiot. It's this whole mess. I can feel divine energy from a god." Then a huge dark figure appears behind Jane. It glares at Jian and says, "So you really are the real one. Good. I don't know how you survived the Devil's Tower, but now that you're back, it's time for your welcome party." As he says that, he releases a crushing power straight at Jian. Then the scene cuts to Hugo's house. He's making food and sighing in relief. Glad Sungjai, he and Yuha are finally gone so he can eat in peace. He turns on the TV hoping to find something good to watch. But then the reporter says she's live at Sophie Marquise's press conference, where everything has fallen into chaos. A man claiming to be Ligum has barged in, and he's now in a fierce fight with the Sagittarius Saint. She even says he looks way too excited about it, while Jian keeps throwing hands. Hugo goes pale and blurts out, "Of course, what the hell is that idiot doing now?" Then we jump back to the fight. The Cancer Saint gathers black energy in his hands and fires off a huge attack, sending the crowd into a panic as they run. Jian dodges with ease and says, "Your attacks are weak. That's never going to work. Got you." The Saint spreads his attack wide, trying to trap the protagonist, but just before it lands, he's shocked to see Jian block the whole thing with his dagger. Not only that, he's upside down, holding himself with one hand. The crowd is so stunned they start clapping for MC. The guy keeps firing more dark attacks, but Jian slips past every one of them and lands right in front of him. "Alright, my turn." He rushes in at top speed while the other guy gathers power again and mocks him. "What, did you spend 20 years practicing flips?" Then he launches another dark blast at him, but he dodges again and laughs. "That's all you've got?" Then he slices the Cancer Saint in two. But something catches Jian off guard again, because the guy turns to ash one more time. "Damn it, so you spent all these years training this trick. What, are you trying to be Naruto now?" The Saint smirks and says he'll take that as a compliment, while Sophie braces herself. Then he creates a dark tornado, draining the life force of everyone there. Jian curses him, asking how he plans to cover up a disaster like this. The Saint says he'll deal with the consequences when they come. For now, he's decided to kill Jian by using the whole crowd against him. "I see. So you were the one who stabbed me in the Devil's Tower." The other man laughs and asks if the protagonist is really that obsessed with finding the culprit. He says it's funny that the hero who saved the world is hung up on such petty grudges. People might think he's just a thug instead of a saint. Jian fires back that all he does is talk trash, especially for a scared little coward hiding behind clones. The man laughs and says they're not just clones, he made them with the life force of the reporters here. If Jian destroys even one of them, that life force will vanish, and there's no promise the reporters will survive. MC says those filthy tricks suit him perfectly. The Saint asks if those are his last words, and then says he'll see him on the other side. He sends all his clones rushing at Jian, but in the same instant, they panic. "A tail? How did that get here?" "So that's one of the skills you got, huh, Drachma?" Jian is already behind him and charges in fast, shouting, "Try this." He lands a direct hit on the Cancer Saint while the system explains, "Take this from me. You can summon a target of your choice to act as a shield for the Ophiuchus vessel. You can only summon something you touched recently. Up to 3 targets can be set, and they'll be moved based on the last one touched." What is this?" The protagonist hits him again, and the man wonders how Jian knew he was the real one. 13th sense. You can detect your enemy's weak points. MC reminds him once more that his tricks are cheap and dirty. "I'd be an idiot not to notice, bullseye." At that moment, Jian rips a crystal out of the Cancer Saint's body, and the man gasps, "Not even the Gemini constellation could find my core, so how did you?" Then Ophiuchus's avatar appears, swallowing the crystal. A flood of system messages follows, saying it's a fragment of Cancer's core, containing 33% of a saint's soul, and another 20%. A huge crack has opened in Cancer's power. The god of Cancer is deeply shaken, and Jian can now absorb the constellation's energy. The black star power around them disappears. Sophie has no idea what just happened, but all that dark power is suddenly gone. The reporters are left asking what happened and who won the fight, while the Cancer Saint, as his real body falls apart, asks what the hell happened to Jian in that tower. He says he can feel the power of a god coming from him. He tells him that even after getting beaten down, he still won't stop talking. He says he'll make very good use of the core he ripped out of him. But the Saint warns that, for now, he still has a few more tricks left and can still cause Jian some trouble. Then he completely disappears, and the protagonist wonders what he meant by tricks left. Still, with that guy's personality, there's no way he'd go quietly. Then MC notices it's ISO calling, and the moment he answers, Hugo starts yelling at him. "You idiot. What the hell do you think you're doing? No time to explain. Get out of there right now, you maniac. I'm watching the news. You just took down one of the Saints. What were you thinking? A bunch of missiles are about to hit your location." "What?" Then the scene shifts to space, where a satellite has several missiles aimed at Earth and starts locking onto the target. Jian can only stare. "Missiles?" And they all start falling at incredible speed toward Earth, and we learn that the Mormoth missile is a catastrophe-class weapon created by Capricorn and Gemini after Ligum vanished, in case a disaster humanity couldn't defeat ever appeared on Earth. This final card of mankind can wipe out everything around the calamity with an orbital strike. What? I can't believe they made something like that. Then Jian realizes the genius of it. They set the missiles to launch automatically if that man's biometric signals disappeared. He remembers the warning that the guy still had one last card to use against him. So that high-ranking clone I just beat was basically his real body. "Jian, this isn't the time to stand there thinking, get out of there now. But running won't solve anything. Those missiles could easily blow up cities like this one." "You're right, but what are you gonna do?" He grins and says he has a plan. Then he looks at Sophie, and she immediately goes pale as he adds that they're not totally out of options. At this point, Sophie is completely broken. She's just been getting bullied non-stop. Then we cut to the missiles still falling, now closing in on the city. Jian grabs Sophie in his arm and she starts screaming for him to let her go. He activates a power and the system says, by the authority of the Gemini Bishop, levitation and teleportation are activated. Teleporting to the front of the Mormoth missile, they're warped right in front of the missile, which is already dropping fast. Holding Sophie in his arms, Jian yells at her, I know you can liquefy anything, so melt this missile. Still in shock, she asks how she's supposed to do that when he's sending her straight into it. Jian says they have no choice. If she doesn't do it, he and everyone below is dead. Then he grabs her arm and throws her forward. As she flies off, she screams, Ligum, you bastard. The protagonist just shouts back, go on, Saint, work your miracle. She keeps crying and yelling at him until the system announces that the goddess of Aquarius is descending, and even the sacred goddess is stunned by this situation. Goddess, please do something. Even the Aquarius goddess curses Jian for being insane, but there's no time for that. She has to act. The saint starts stacking buff after buff, and all that power pours into Sophie while she cries in panic, until a tear falls and the saint triggers the skill. Tears of the goddess, then a huge wave rushes straight at the missile, slamming into it as the water pushes with everything it has to stop it. After a while, the missile finally starts breaking apart completely. Sophie gasps, saying she really did it, but then she realizes Jian isn't holding her anymore and drops toward the ground. MC just watches and tells her goodbye. She'll be fine with all those buffs. Then a massive blast of water wipes out the rest of the missiles. She did great, but things could still get really bad if all those fragments hit the ground. Below, everyone panics. The missile broke, but now the pieces are falling. Jian pauses and remembers this weapon was made by Gemini. If that's the case, he says, then it's time to send a little greeting to that purple witch. He calls out to Tyson, asking if he can hear him. Tyson answers and asks if he found a way to stop the missile. Jian says there's no time to explain. This is an emergency. He just needs Tyson's absolute coordinate skill. Sagittarius's absolute coordinate can teleport a chosen target exactly where the user wants. It works especially well with weapons that need perfect aim. Tyson is shocked that the protagonist sounds this desperate and wonders how bad things really are. Still, he quickly works his magic circle and says he's sending it over right now. MC thanks his slave number 1. A message pops up on his phone. Sagittarius has granted absolute coordinate. Remaining uses 238. Jian says that should be enough, then starts building up purple energy as the system fires off notice after notice, saying that by the authority of Sagittarius's saint, absolute coordinate has been activated. He starts teleporting all the missile fragments to another location. We're about to find out where. Now Jian says it's time to send that witch a present. People stare in shock, asking what that is. The missile fragments are rising back up, and everyone realizes they've been saved. Someone shouts that it has to be him. They can't believe he made the whole missile disappear. But then someone contacts him by telepathy, saying this is the Yin-Yang Palace in the domain of the Gemini Saint. Bishop Choi is told to come quickly. Jian recognizes the voice at once. Jian answers and asks what the problem is. The voice explodes at him, demanding to know what he just did with his authority. The marmot fragments are falling into the Yin-Yang Palace. We finally see where Jian sent all the missile pieces, straight to the Gemini Saint's temple. Then the scene shifts to the Blue House. Inside the president's office, they're stunned. The protagonist showed up. Not only did he wreck Saint Sophie Marty's press conference, but he also beat Cancer's Saint and stopped the marmot missile aimed at Korea. None of it makes sense, and right at that moment, Jian smashes through the ceiling and drops in front of them, carrying Choi in one hand and Hugo in the other. Everyone is completely thrown off. MC asks what these rats were whispering about. Are they hiding something? The room freezes in shock while he says that since he's already here, he'll settle this issue too. He came to collect his money. He heard they still have access to the account holding the money from selling all his belongings. He remembered it on the way home, and everyone starts wondering if this really is Jian. If it is, they're in serious trouble. He tells them to shut up. He already tried to access the account using ISO's authority, but it didn't work, even though he clearly remembers appointing Hugo as his proxy. So something about this is obviously wrong. They awkwardly explain that the Korean government had trouble trusting Hugo, so Jian immediately cuts in, asking what they just said. Their excuse is that Hugo is a foreigner. After the protagonist disappeared, they say they couldn't trust a saint from another country, while Korea had no saint of its own. And because of several incidents, Sagittarius's faction grew weaker. So in the end, they handed responsibility to someone they considered more trustworthy than Hugo, who stands there furious as he listens. Jian then tells Hugo to cheer up. Hugo, nearly in tears, calls him the worst. MC shrugs and says that before he starts breaking things, they should give all his money back. The people there wonder what's going to happen to them, but then someone suddenly yells for everyone to shut up. That voice makes them all stop. A sandal flies right into the room and Jian says she finally showed up. She declares that they've already taken over the account, so he can get lost. Then she steps in with full confidence. It's the Gemini Saint, Rarequine. She says she'll need every bit of his fortune to rebuild the palace he just destroyed. She accuses Jian of sending the marmot fragments to her palace, saying it's now completely wrecked. Does he have any idea how much damage he caused? She keeps shouting at him in fury, and Jian casually asks who she even is. That only makes her even angrier. She snaps that he should be quiet because she's going to get rid of him now, then forms a magic circle above herself. The system announces that Gemini's magic power is rising. People panic saying it's Gemini and they need to run. She links herself to a powerful spirit. Gemini's strongest move, summoning a spirit from another world through a spiritual call. A spirit begins to appear and takes in that transcendent power. While below, Raikeen keeps shouting, telling Jian he's finished now. The spirit queen Lily Queen answers the summon, and piece by piece, her full body emerges, transforming into a fairy-like form as everyone watches in amazement. Jian, though, stays calm. Raikeen proudly declares that this is Lily Queen, a spirit almost on the level of a sacred god. She asks if the protagonist really thinks he can fight that. Instead, MC suddenly appears right in front of her and grabs her, then throws her away, telling her to get lost. She goes flying out through the hole he made, the same way he entered. Even from above, they can still see her flying, while everyone screams in shock about what he just did to the saint. Her summon immediately starts being pulled back into the circle. Gemini's magic power begins to scatter, and Lily Queen tries to return home. But just as she's about to vanish, Jian grabs her by the head, making her freeze and asks where she thinks she's going. Then he drags her back out of the summoning circle. The system announces that he has successfully captured the spirit queen, Lily Queen. Jian mocks her, asking if he looks stupid. How dare she try to run? Terrified, she begs him over and over to forgive her. The scene jumps to him leaving that place completely wrecked, saying he got his money back, so now it's time to go eat something good. Then he notices all the documents and says something feels off. Why didn't the real Heiji come herself? She's the kind of person who'd drop a meteor in the middle of the city if she got mad. Jian says he's been wondering about that. After all the chaos at the Yin-Yang Palace, she still never showed up. That can only mean one thing. The situation is confusing, but the protagonist's sure of it. Something is keeping her away. As they keep talking, he finally says there's no way that hothead is controlling her temper on purpose. He thinks he knows where she is, so it's time for a visit. Then the scene shifts to Chiu and Sungjae's apartment, Hugo's son. Someone suggests they eat while they work. They ask if he wants a burger. Sungjae looks a little down as he stares at the burger, then says he'll eat something else instead and asks what Jimin wants. Jimin says he wants something different too. Right then, Hugo suddenly sneezes and she laughs, teasing him. Gemini jokes from the back that she's just messing with him. Someone adds that Iso would faint if he found out, but Iso isn't coming. Then the scene changes, showing Iso dressed up, while they explain he went out to do a favor and will be a little late. Jian says it's time to start the interrogation. We see the little fairy queen trapped there, inside Ares' relic, the durable display case, a very tough case for relics. MC tells her she'd better answer his questions properly. She quickly agrees. He says being stuck in a clear box is still better than being trapped in a book, so she should choose wisely. He shows the S-rank relic book that imprisons everything, an inventory relic that stores a target as text and can be disguised. Right now, it looks like a cookbook. The poor fairy panics and keeps agreeing, while Jian thinks it's way too strange that that witch still hasn't appeared. That means it's not that she chose not to come, she can't come. So she must be trapped somewhere, and that place is Cheon Sungjae's house. The fairy hurriedly says he got it exactly right. Jian tells her he'll give her one chance. Where exactly is she? He presses her again, asking if she wants to say it herself or if he should say it for her. Finally, she says the woman is over there, pointing at a statue. Jian smiles. That's the same angel statue that was broken before. He knew it. Something about it smelled bad from the start. He remembers hearing that she kissed it or something like that, and figures that was the witch's coordinate marking magic. He recalls Gemini saying they weren't his. The saint personally kissed them to bless them. That connects with the 13th sense. Jian stares at the statue with a dark look, and the system announces that the 13th sense is activating, letting him interfere with the spirit world. Then the statue suddenly starts screaming at him. Angry, she snaps, "Hey Lily Queen, why did you tell him everything?" That spirit is Heiji, the saint of Gemini. She drifts out of the statue like a crying ghost. It's Heiji in her spirit form. Damn it, of all people, I had to get caught by him. She can't believe things ended up like this. If that day had gone differently, none of this would have started when the Devil's Tower collapsed. Heiji remembers that moment, the Devil's Tower blowing apart, a cup dropping to the floor, and her thinking, what was that strange energy just now? Then it hits her. Ligam, he's alive. That same day, Jian arrived at the apartment with Sungjae and Jiwoo. She was already shocked that he made it back alive, but out of every place he could go, he came straight to Sungjae's apartment, the home of his friend's son. Still, that worked in her favor since it was within her range. Wondering what Jian was up to, she decided to check for herself. She used Gemini's teleport skill, only her soul could move, so she possessed a target instead, the angel statue in Sungjae's apartment. That's how she got trapped there. Possessing the statue worked, but then he walked in, took one look and said it was disgusting. The moment he smashed the statue, she was stuck. If the possessed target is destroyed during soul possession, escape becomes impossible, and her possession skill gets sealed, so all she could do was stay trapped there. Then Jiwoo came in and said it was still just a relic, so he could leave it like that. To Heiji, even a lousy binding skill was fine, as long as someone could restore the broken statue. Then Piggy pulled out a little jar of glue. Back in the present, she says Sungjae has to face Ligam, but he refuses. He doesn't want to fight his uncle. She can't understand it. Ligam and their cult have always been enemies. As a Gemini Templar, Sungjae is supposed to stand against him, so he makes his choice, he'll leave the cult instead. That answer stuns her. Sungjae says he may be part of Gemini, but Uncle Ligum is his hero. If being in the cult means becoming Ligum's enemy, he wants no part of it. He rips off his badge and throws it down. Heiji stares in shock as the insignia falls. The instant it hits, the whole place starts shaking. Heiji panics. It's divine punishment from a sacred god. Sungjae's fate starts turning toward Ophiuchus, and the sacred goddess of Gemini unleashes her wrath. Her magic crashes down on Cheon Sungjae. At once, ketchup starts pouring over his body, and he has no idea what's happening. Everyone starts yelling his name, trying to figure it out. Then he loses consciousness and drops. Heiji begs him to ask for forgiveness right away. As a candidate to inherit her place, the goddess might spare him if he attacks Jian. She warns that the protagonist is cruel and can't be trusted. Sungjae shuts that down fast. He fires back that they abandon people without a second thought whenever it helps them. So hearing them call Jian heartless makes him mad. He remembers the supermarket when MC told them to teleport away and leave everyone else behind to suffer there. Maybe they act like that, but he also remembers Jian beating a monster to save a little kid, and the time he rescued Sungjae and Yoha from a monster attack. In his eyes, he always saves people in danger. The real hypocrites are them, claiming they're saving the world while only caring about themselves. He even remembers watching Jian on TV as a kid, thinking only one thing: he's my hero. So the protagonist isn't some fool they get to judge or look down on. Then Freya, the sacred goddess of Gemini, appears. At last, the true goddess of Gemini shows herself. She stands over Sungjae's fallen body as the system warns. Because of Cheon Sungjae's declaration, her divine punishment rises to the highest level. She gathers power and orders him to disappear along with that cursed hero. Right then, Jian calmly says, "Skill." The goddess turns toward him in shock. MC raises his hand and gathers dark power, abyssal cut. She freezes, and Jian slices through every link between the goddess and Sungjae. At the same time, chaos breaks out in Inyang Palace. People shout for someone to pull the victims from the rubble and start using magic. Others yell that the fire is spreading and call for anyone who knows water spells. But the moment they try, one man realizes he can't gather any magic at all. Someone tells Bishop Ken that something is very wrong. They can't feel any magical power anymore. Ken orders them to contact the nearby Templars and find out what's happening. Everyone is left stunned because no one can use magic. Then the scene shifts to Gemini Templars fighting calamities. They're running in panic because Gemini's power has completely vanished. Back with Jian, the result of his skill is clear. The sacred goddess of Gemini's magic is gone. He tells Sungjae he should be okay now, and admits he almost put him in danger. Then he thanks him for trusting his uncle to the very end. Sungjae just stares for a moment, then smiles through tears, totally moved. But from the background, someone suddenly screams, "Ligu, you bastard! What did you do to me?" When they look over, it's Saint Riti. She's freaking out because she lost the goddess's magic. The story jumps back to when Jian used Abyssal Cut with the Gemini system active. The system explains that he weakened the bond between Riti, the saint of Gemini, and the sacred goddess of Gemini, Freya. Sacred gods use huge amounts of power and take major risks when they act directly in the human world. That's why they usually pass their power to successors. The saints share that power with their Templars. In simple terms, the sacred god is the power plant, the saints are the substations, and the Templars are everything connected to them. So if the link to the source gets cut, every other part stops working too. That means the instant loss of power can only mean one thing: the connection was severed. Jian grins and mocks her. "So how does it feel to be a powerless nobody now, you purple witch?" This is the kind of trick that Cursed Crab loves using. Weakening connections with Abyssal Cut. Abyssal Cut is an SS rank sovereign skill of Cancer. It can cut anything the user wants. And when Jian mixed it with his own skill, something new happened. Riti can only stare at the protagonist in shock as he says he can now cut even the contract between her and that filthy goddess. This forbidden act can sever anything: memories, bonds, loyalty, and more. The more he masters it, the more abilities he gains. Riti can't believe it. There's no way a sacred goddess should allow this. She warns that now he'll face the fury of a real goddess. Jian tells her to go to hell along with her goddess. If anything, this just makes it easier to drag that idiot goddess out in person again. He fixes her with a cold, dark stare. Then a purple bolt starts forming beside them, and lightning spreads across the sky. People everywhere wonder what's going on as a giant purple tornado of energy starts tearing through the city. The system announces that the sacred goddess of Gemini is enraged after losing her links to the saint and her Templars. She accepts the risk and chooses to interfere directly. Jian and Heiji watch it happen as the whole area shakes and the massive storm of purple energy starts wrecking Sungjae's house while Yuri and the others brace themselves. Jian just comments that this is one flashy entrance. The goddess faces him with terrifying power, but MC only watches calmly. It's Freya, the sacred goddess of Gemini. The system warns that her power is wildly unstable. She gathers lightning in her hands and fires straight at Jian just as the system says. An item is being pulled from his inventory. Her attack keeps coming, rushing right at him and tearing through everything in its path. But the goddess is shocked when Jian comes out completely unharmed. A fragment of Cancer's core absorbs the sacred goddess's power. That's thanks to the item he tore from the Saint of Cancer in their earlier fight. Freya is horrified when she recognizes a fragment from another sacred god. Jian keeps absorbing all her energy and says it's a shame he no longer has heaven's condemnation. If he still had his sword, he could cut through everything, even sacred gods. He opens the crafting workshop. Usable materials: Cancer Core Fragment, Lightning, and the sacred goddess of Gemini's Whirlwind. Since he has no better choice, he'll go with the next best thing. He moves with the Cancer Core and starts forging two streams of energy together. The system announces that he dealt major damage to the sacred goddess of Gemini. She screams in pain while Jian stands there holding his Grim Reapers. The sacred goddess of Gemini is suffering pain and humiliation. Everyone is stunned. How can he actually wound a goddess? Then the Abyss Storm Scythe breaks, so the weapon only lasted one hit. Jian says that's the best he could do with something made on the spot. The saint keeps writhing in agony and releasing more lightning, until the system warns that Freyja, the sacred goddess of Gemini, has lost her mind. Right then, someone shouts a direct hit, and the question is, who was it? Then Hugo shows up looking incredibly cool. Seeing that, Sungjae and Yuka panic and call out, "Dad!" The god of Sagittarius appears behind Hugo. He orders Freyja to stop this invasion right now. That instantly shocks her. Then he adds that anything more would break the rules. He tells Freyja to back off at once. Sacred gods aren't allowed to interfere in this world with their real bodies. Right after that, golden chains begin to appear. The system announces that other sacred gods, angry about this rule being broken, are activating restraints. Freyja is clearly shaken when all that power comes at her. More system messages pop up saying, to interfere any further on Earth, she would have to pay faith, experience, and attributes. If she keeps going, she could reach maximum hostility with the other sacred gods. Everyone can only watch it happen. Hugo clicks his tongue and says that's a shame. Then chains of other colors appear too. They start sealing Freyja's body, and Hugo points out that the other sacred gods don't want this either. He asks if she really plans to push her luck even further. Suddenly, Freyja starts letting out ear-piercing screams. Meanwhile, the Sagittarius saint stays standing. The whole place starts to fall apart, and Sungjae and the others cover their ears. Grinding her teeth, the sacred goddess of Gemini swears she won't forget this day. She angrily points at Hugo and Jian. The protagonist can tell she's seriously mad. Then he straight up flips her off, which only makes her even angrier. But her body starts breaking apart into energy, and the system announces he completely crushed the pride of the sacred goddess of Gemini and gained a reputation among the countless beings watching the world. He also gets a huge amount of experience from the Throne of the Gods and levels up to Beginner God Throne level 9. Once his God Throne reaches level 10, he'll face a special test. After that, the god of Sagittarius begins to fade. Hugo gives him a thumbs up while the system continues. His disposition has built up, and a special mission has been activated. Awaken the core of Ophiuchus, rank SS. When it's all over, everyone drops to the ground, worn out. Jian walks over to Hugo and laughs, saying he came just in time. Still, MC admits he's furious about what Freyja did to Sungjae. He says he can't believe putting an arrow through her head wasn't enough. He tells her to wait because he's still going to beat that cursed saint down. Hearing that, Hugo gives a relieved smile and thanks him. Then he says he got the thing Jian asked for from the Yin-Yang Palace. He perks up and Hugo shows him a scroll as the system explains. It's a soul record, a document listing the contracts tied to Gemini's avatars. In the background, Hugo asks how he got it. Hugo says invisibility and sneaking in are basic skills for an archer. He also mentions the emblem Jian gave him, then starts grumbling to himself while the protagonist quietly watches, and the system announces he opened the soul record and is checking the list of avatars: Berserker, the One-Eyed Mad Warrior, Legendary Class; Giant Jotun, King of Giants, Legendary Class; Warrior King Jarl, the Light of the Whitest God, also Legendary Class. Gemini's avatars fully surrender to Ophiuchus. He can either accept those surrendered avatars as his own or keep them as prisoners. Jian likes the sound of that. Then the system adds that the commander avatar imprisoned in the sea below the Yin-Yang Palace has also surrendered. MC guesses that must be the mythical class avatar commander. Still, he asks why he should trust their surrender. He wants proof that they're serious first. Then a purple vortex forms above Jian. A body that looks like Eiji's starts coming out of it. He is startled, but it's not her real self, since Eiji is still in ghost form. As that body keeps falling, everyone stares in confusion. Eiji? She's confused too, because she's still a ghost. The system says Gemini's avatars have offered Jian Eiji's original body. He's stunned by how absurd that is. Even so, he accepts. The system confirms he accepted the surrender of Gemini's avatars. Those avatars have now moved under Ophiuchus. He can now give names to his avatars. This is already looking like a disaster. Jian says he's too lazy for this, so he'll just name them by rank. Basically Bro 1, Bro 2, and Bro 3. The system confirms the avatars have been named. Even they can't believe it. Then Jian grabs her by the neck and says her sacred goddess abandoned her and ran, so she better answer his questions properly. He asks if she was the one who attacked him at the Devil Tower. She says she has no idea what he's talking about. The protagonist presses power into her forehead and she starts screaming. He explains that it's a fragment of the Abyss Tempest scythe he used before. He says it's strong enough to burn even someone's soul, so she should stop pretending and confess. But she insists she really doesn't know. He asks if she wants to act tough while being tortured as a spirit. The others just watch that terrifying power spread. Even the Spirit Queen hides, scared of it. Hugo shields himself and wonders if she's actually telling the truth. Then she blurts out that it was probably Virgo. After that, she begs Jian to let her go. The moment he hears Virgo, MC's expression turns dark. Then that piece of the Abyss Scythe breaks, and he lets her go in anger. He says it would have been painless if she'd told him from the start. Since she gave him useful information, he'll return her body. She's shocked she's still alive, but then asks what that is. A second later, everything goes wrong. The Spirit Queen takes over her body and says, "Thank you." And even if this wasn't how she expected to be freed, she still appreciates his kindness. Jian awkwardly laughs and admits he may have made a mistake. He accidentally gave her body to Rara Queen, who immediately clings to him. Yofa gets jealous on the spot and the others have to hold her back. After that, the scene shifts to Hugo's house. Yang in a teddy bear body says it's pointless to try fixing this now. Someone asks what he means, there's nothing to fix. Yang says he can already see tons of rotten clauses and broken magic contracts at a glance. The system identifies it as a rank CO soul contract made by Virgo, a contract specialist. Jian has taken everything Yang once controlled. Yang says they're already working on sorting it all out, and asks him for more soul records too. He plans to upgrade them all to rank SS. Then Yang just stares blankly at the protagonist, while Jian grins and tells Raremy Keen to go ahead, which makes her delighted. But then something else catches MC's eye. When he looks over, he sees AG trapped in her statue, crying, with several statues of him around her. In her spirit state, she desperately begs him to free her and let her out. A new obtainable skill appears, Snake Contract. He can let one thing slide, but not three. The protagonist stares at the message, wondering what kind of skill he just got. Then someone suddenly says, they're finally avatars of Lord Jian. The system notes that MC's new avatars are showering him with praise. They call it a huge honor to serve him. Soon everybody starts praising and flattering him. And then the avatars he gained in the last chapter finally appear. They all look at him in amazement while Hugo says he's never seen anything like this since avatars are usually proud. That immediately annoys them and they snap at poor Hugo, asking how he dares interrupt when he's only serving Lord Jian. Hugo is left standing there like a servant, but the protagonist makes it worse, saying they've got it wrong. Hugo isn't a servant, he's a slave. That only makes them even more offended as they ask how a mere slave dares speak before mighty Jian. MC cuts it off and asks why they abandoned Gemini and came to him. They say they couldn't endure the abuse from the sacred goddess of Gemini anymore. He doesn't sound convinced, so they admit the truth. They saw the Lord beat her down. The protagonist remembers the moment when he overpowered the goddess and they all cheered in excitement because he actually pulled it off. He says he's glad they're being honest now. They explain it's not just them, even the commander and the other avatars want to surrender to him. But the commander is trapped in the sea beneath the sacred domain and couldn't come here. They add that humanity has already lost more than half its land to the mysterious civilization of calamities. At first glance, saints and calamities might seem evenly matched, but the truth is much worse. They can't even begin to reclaim the territory they've lost. Jian thinks it over and says if it's in the sea near the Yin-Yang Palace, then it must be somewhere in that ocean beyond it. That would put it close to the mysterious civilization's territory, so he decides he'd better pay a visit and see how things stand now. The avatars bow and say that since they've submitted to Jian, they swear their loyalty and their lives to him. MC accepts and says he's looking forward to this. Yuka comments that this is just like Uncle Him, even high-class avatars are scared of him, and that's both cool and terrifying. Then she casually says she's glad she asked for his hand. The instant she says that, Jian and Hugo both freeze. Hugo turns to him with a very dark look. He asks what that was supposed to mean. The protagonist can only go, "What do you mean?" Then comes a quick reminder. If you're enjoying the video, drop a like and leave a comment to help support it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on notifications, then let's get back to the story. So remember, the last video ended right when our protagonist was talking with his three new subordinates, while in the background Sungjae and Yudo were just watching Jian. Then she suddenly says, "I'm really glad I asked to marry him." The second Hugo hears that, he steps in with a really dark look, and Jian freezes in shock. Then Hugo demands, "Hey MC, what is she talking about? Marry you? What the hell is this?" To make it even worse, Yang chimes in from the back, "Wow, does that make Hugo Jian's father-in-law? What a messed up family." Hugo instantly fires a flaming arrow right at him, blowing apart the teddy bear head. The poor guy runs off crying and he says, "Hey ISO, put the bow down first, then we talk." But Hugo only answers, "I've never even heard my own daughter say she loves me. Not even on Father's Day, so how dare she say something like that to you?" Then the system warns that the Saint of Sagittarius is enraged, and now he starts firing a whole storm of flaming arrows at Jian. The protagonist quickly dodges them all, while Hugo keeps shouting, "Sorry MC, but you need to die now." The Saint of Sagittarius used invincibility, and he keeps charging after Jian, who still has no clue what is going on. "Man, are you seriously this mad? Hold on." Using God's Eye fixation, he checks Hugo's magic power. Hugo orders the Saint of Sagittarius. Then the protagonist closes his eyes and starts catching Hugo's arrows with his bare hands. But Hugo doesn't stop. He sends out a massive rain of arrows straight at Jian. He just keeps firing, again and again at MC. Right when they're about to hit, Jian blocks every single one. Then he says, "What are you, some kind of bug? Quit being annoying. You humiliated the Saint of Sagittarius. His hostility has calmed down. You gained a large amount of experience from the throne of God." Even so, Hugo is still furious and rushes Jian again, activating his sovereign skill, Ring of the Sun God. He's really going all out. Apollo, the sacred god of Sagittarius, asks if it's really fine to destroy the house, especially since Jian Sungjae's home is still being paid off. The place is getting wrecked by Hugo's rampage, but he doesn't care at all and keeps charging. While Jian thinks, "My god, he's just like someone I know," doesn't care if he burns down his own house even when he's broke. That reminds him of his first meeting with Jian Sungjae, who also rushed him while trashing his apartment. Then Qian Yusa suddenly yells, "No, Dad." "Huh, what do you mean no? I mean, you don't stand a chance against Uncle Jian. She really just roasted her own father. How is the poor guy supposed to beat anyone after that?" He's completely stunned. So he finally calms down and lowers his bow just as Jian steps up right in front of him and says, "You idiot." Then he smacks him hard on the head. "So you finally woke up. Why get this mad over kids being kids? Do I look like the kind of guy who'd go after his friend's daughter? You wrecked your own house over this. That's just stupid." They're bad at showing how they feel, but they're more thankful to you than you know. They even bought gifts for you. "Dad, we're back. You're awake. I brought strawberry cake and your favorite coffee." Hugo gets emotional the second he sees the cake and coffee. He rushes towards Sungjae to grab the cake, but Sungjae dodges. Hugo runs right past him. Meanwhile, Jian is already eating the cake. Hugo desperately tries to snatch the piece back, but the protagonist keeps slipping away. The poor guy even wrecks half the house in the process. Sometime later, Yang is getting stitched up again, while Yuka quietly watches. Then something catches her eye. She looks at her phone and jumps in shock, because the alert says, "A red class calamity. Thousand Legs has appeared. All Templar forces must answer the mobilization order." The scene shifts to the sea near Manila, the capital of the Philippines. Lightning crashes from the sky as soldiers on standby say, "They told us it was a red-level calamity. That's terrifying. Do you think we'll be okay? Still, there are so many people here. We should be able to take it down. Don't be scared. Danger is a chance. Even while our saint is away, we'll defeat this red-level calamity with our own strength." And right then, someone else drops from the sky, the poor saint of Leo. "This is how our Leo will rise. Let's show the world that humanity is taking another step into the future." Everyone starts cheering while Yoha covers her ears in annoyance and thinks, "I want to go home. I wanted to see Uncle Jian. Something about this feels off." Then the scene cuts to masked soldiers, and inside one of the tents, an old man says, "Good grief, these men are complete barbarians, violent for no reason. They're hiding their fear with brute force. Not that I care. Still, I wonder if the gift I sent them has arrived yet." Then it cuts back to Hugo's completely wrecked house. "Oh, you're here." The one who arrived is Hugo's secretary, Yumseo Yuren. "It's been a while, Saint. How have you been? Why is your house completely destroyed? What happened?" "My God, the ceiling." Hugo sits in the corner looking miserable. "Don't ask. It was necessary. You're watching my arms radio too?" "Yeah, Hugo was sent over there. By the way, what's in that box?" "It was in front of your door, so I brought it inside." "It's not a delivery." Then a voice screams from inside the box, "Where's the little punk?" The scene changes to Jian at the forge. Another material breaks and the system says, "The production tool is too low rank. The materials were damaged." "Come on, not again. How many times has that happened now? To create the item you want, you need higher rank equipment." The item Jian just ruined was a dagger. "Damn, this is the limit of this crafting hammer. What a pain. I lost the hammer that guarantees achievements, and I have no idea where it ended up over the last 20 years. It's hard to make anything above mid-rank with slime. I need to stock up on decent weapons before facing Virgo." Then someone hired by another Zodiac sneaks into the sanctuary where Jian and the lowly Sagittarius are staying. "Wait, is that Hugo? Hugo Otters? It's been a while, Hugo. I'm Seven Village." It's coming from a goat head speaker. "What the hell is this? You've got awful hobbies, old goat. This feels like something Yang would do." Yang looks confused. "Why am I getting dragged into this?" Then Jian walks up with a small hammer and says, "I heard someone snuck into the sanctuary, but it's just this old goat. It's been a long time, MC. I'm relieved you're safe." The woman nearby looks confused. "Him? I'm Seven Village Vladimir of Capricorn. Remember me?" "Oh, Sebastian, I said Seven Village." Then we get the explanation. Seven Village Vladimir is the saint of Capricorn. Like the protagonist, he specializes in crafting, and after the protagonist vanished, almost every famous weapon in the world passed through his hands. He's the mustached old man from the previous chapter, and we're shown the many weapons and armors he's made lately. The last one is that goat head speaker. "Anyway, I'm glad you're doing well. The reason I came to find you like this is..." But Jian grabs the goat head and says, "Because you want to apologize for what happened before?" He tosses the goat head up, then smashes it to pieces. "Jian, can we really just ignore what he said?" MC shrugs it off. "He's always talking nonsense anyway. What kind of idiot says he came to help with ingredients? I mean, cooperate. We should just go watch the raid coverage. His personality really hasn't changed. What an annoying saint. It's time for you to show up." "Oh? Well then, maybe I should take a look at this Thousand Legs raid." Then he's officially introduced as the Saint of Sagittarius, Sergeyevich Vladimir Ivan, Vladimir Ian. Powerful agents have gathered too, including the people from the House of Leo with Ilhan Prabha still holding her spear. Vice Saint Yoha and Captain Oliver are the beasts of Leo in charge of this battlefield. The experts in transformation magic and the naval war tacticians of Pisces are here as well. Taurus, the iron wall defending the front lines, is also in position, and Aquarius, the battlefield saint who can knock back a bomb with holy power, is here too. On top of that, Capricorn, who handles making and boosting the many weapons needed for battle, has arrived. Troops from all over were sent here for the war plan, and now the Saint of Capricorn has appeared. What the hell is that old man doing there? It looks like the Saint of Capricorn is about to do something. He raises his hands to the sky and then Gion's hammer appears. That old thief. The divine artifact of Capricorn. He summoned the hammer that guarantees achievements. Hey, wasn't that what you used in the past? Capricorn, the saint who specializes in crafting, will use that hammer to strengthen divine artifacts before the battle starts. He starts hammering away with Gion's tool, and everyone cheers. The Saint of Capricorn's reinforcement skills are famous around the world. Yeah, shut up. The little guy beside him covers his ears. That dirty old goat. I was already mad he stole my item, and now he's showing off with it. This is ridiculous. I need to beat him up before I go deal with Virgo. I'm going right now. I'm going to crush that damned old man. Gion starts running off just as the woman says, "It appeared." The calamity showed up. Something huge starts rising from the deep and a giant monster bursts out of the ocean. This thing is massive, with a huge mouth. Everyone freezes when they see its size. Then it lets out a roar toward the sky. It's the Thousand Arms Calamity, red danger level. All units get ready to fight. Wait, what? There's something hanging from one of its tentacles. When they look closer, it's Steven. He's clinging to the monster's tentacle. Isn't that Steven, Mark? And somehow he's still holding the bone Guff broke in the last episode. Let go of my bone, you filthy monster. Oh my god, he's fighting a calamity over a bone. Then again, he did pay $1 billion for it. Even now, he refuses to let it go. Seriously, he's obsessed with that thing. Castellan, please get out of there and calm down. What are you doing, Bishop Oliver? The Lion Saint and the Thousand Arms showed up together, so why are you just standing there? That old man is really trying to steal command from me. He wants all the credit, but I was about to give the orders anyway. Lions drink the physical enhancement potion and prepare for battle. They immediately down the potions from their vials. At the same time, Pixiu's side starts using support skills too. Underwater breathing, wave resonance, and ocean advance. Aquarius, apply combat and survival buffs. Health regen, mobility, and defense buffs. Taurus, form a defensive line in the rear and stop the calamities from reaching the coast. Then the lion fighter leaps forward and shouts, "Everybody ready? Time to fight, you beasts. Lions, move out." They charge straight at the creature at full speed. As lightning bursts around them, they begin transforming into beasts. The system announces, "Bestification activated. You have gained the power of a raging beast." The lion fighters turn into tigers and panthers and rush the monster. The bestified lion assault squad, advance. Meanwhile, Aquarius keeps casting blessings, stacking even more buffs on the front line. Then Yua takes command and declares, "Unity skill of the sect. Wild turn walk." A giant lion made of energy shoots forward straight at the calamity and slams right into it. At the same time, the transformed lion fighters rush in too, swarming the creature and attacking from every side. But Steven is still hanging there with his bone, yelling, "You idiots, be quiet until I get my bone back." Castellan, stop acting like an idiot and hold still. The two keep arguing in the middle of the chaos. What the hell? Just give up on that bone already. Shut up. I'm getting it back. What is going on over there? At this rate, our men are going to die. That idiot. Huh? Vice Captain Yua, you're still here? I really shouldn't change the plan just to save that stupid lion. But with things going this way, she has no choice. She gets ready and red lightning starts crackling around her body. The women nearby call out, "Please wait, we'll give you some buffs. I don't need them." With a cold stare, she launches forward using acceleration. She heads straight for Steven and that bone. Then, before he can even react, Yua slices through the monster's tentacle. In one move, she frees both Steven and the bone. Rescue successful. Steven drops into the water with the bone, coughing and spitting water everywhere. Then Yua steps right on his face and dunks him back under. Everyone stares in disbelief. She crossed that huge distance with a single jump and even cut off a calamity's tentacle. She's amazing. And she's still standing up there on Taurus while he complains, "Get off me. Get off." That fires everyone up. Yeah, let's finish this calamity. So they attack with everything they have, physical strikes, magic, and purple energy attacks, but the calamity suddenly goes still, then raises a massive wave of water. A tsunami. A tsunami. Take cover. The Taurus Templars activate impenetrable wall formation. What was that? Did a volcano erupt? Hey look, the monster charges straight at the soldiers and panic spreads through the ranks. The old man mutters that if something like this has appeared, there's no other choice. But right then, someone behind him speaks up. "Hey, what's that in your hand?" "A detonator. I planted explosives all along the coast." He flinches and turns around, shocked by the voice. That's when Gian strikes his hand. At the same moment, the slime lunges in with its giant mouth, and just like that, it swallows the old man whole. Wow, Sebastian, you really are a pain. I get that the people in the water are only buying time because they can't beat that monster, But isn't it a bit much to blow them up along with the calamity? Stay still. For the first time in 20 years, I'm going to teach you the right way to cut octopus sashimi. Then the scene shifts to someone sprinting over the water. It's Jin Yuri, and she thinks back to the record of this raid. For the 1,000 Arms raid, you force your way through the 1,000 tentacles at high speed and cut down any you can avoid with a single strike. Jin Yuri keeps running, slipping past the tentacles. As she moves, memories come back to her, just like they did for Jian in his last raid. 20 years ago, she kept charging forward, cutting through the monster's tentacles, and she could clearly see his image in her mind. She's seriously fierce. If she fought Hugo, Hugo would lose. Then she pauses for a second and thinks, once I get close to its body, I need to stab its eyes with whatever weapon I have. She grips her spear and lines up a direct hit on the creature's eye. Red lightning starts pouring off the spear as she unleashes a full power strike. Lotus flash, but something catches Yua off guard. When she looks, the monster has stopped her spear with just one tentacle. What? It blocked that so easily. The creature glares at her while holding the spear, then lashes out with another tentacle straight at Yua. Right then, Steven grabs her and pulls her away from the attack. Everyone watches the scene unfold, while soldiers all around them are being torn apart and crying for help. She wonders what Jian would have done. He would have jumped in with his long sword. Wait, someone just rushed past her with a sword. The protagonist? And there he is, charging right at the monster. It roars at him, but Jian draws his sword and unleashes a storm of slashes on the giant octopus, carving it apart. Skill, Great Mountain Eruption. A huge hole tears through the middle of the creature. Oops, did I go a little too hard? The bystanders are left stunned and someone in the back shouts, Jian, how did he get here? Why are you all so surprised? I just came to give a little demonstration. You were struggling way too much with a weak monster like that. Shut up. You only showed up at the end for the final hit. We could have beaten it ourselves. But then the octopus grabs Jian and everyone turns in shock. The creature swings its huge mouth toward him, ready to swallow him whole. For a moment, even he takes notice, and Hugo screams for MC in panic, while the others wonder what they can do now. Is there anyone who can actually kill that monster? Under it, there are even smaller octopus-like creatures too. They all start shrieking, their mouths twisting strangely. But at that exact moment, Jian calls on his power, and a spear tears up the ground as it flies back into his hand. He grabs it tight, and the monster instantly feels the pressure coming off him. That power alone makes the creature recoil. The energy around him turns wild and overwhelming. Jian spins the spear over himself and says, Skill? Blade Baptism. Then he launches another massive attack and tears the monster apart completely. The onlookers can only stare, too shocked to react. In the middle of all that destruction stands Jian. The good thing about big enemies is that there's more to cut. In the end, whether it's 1,000 legs or 1,000 arms, it's still just an octopus. The monster is left with a giant gash through its body, and Jian says he already cut it into pieces. The rest is up to them. My god, an event people will talk about for years just happened. He, the returned hero, defeated the 1,000 Arms. The name's getting messed up now, but whatever. Everyone starts cheering. Incredible. Stories that inspire people, and huge achievements they remember for a long time have the power to make them worship you. A book appears, filling with energy and lines of text, while the system announces, an Ophiuchus Bible has been created, your deeds will be recorded and passed down. Even the Constellation Masters were caught off guard. Oh, a holy book filled with stories that hold power. That's interesting. Then someone in the distance shouts, over here, Yuka. Yuka waves happily at Gian. If Hugo were here, she'd probably ruin the mood. A moment later, someone rushes in front of her and asks if she's okay, and she says yes. But then something catches the protagonist's eye. Wait, why is that thing on your back? Did you carry it by yourself? Hugo gets all nervous and goes, what are you talking about? There's nothing here. Then Gian asks if she likes bones too. So liking bones is a Leo thing? Hugo quickly denies it and says she just wanted to keep it because it's a collectible. Anyway, MC shows her the broken remains of her spear, the one he used to finish off the monster. He admits he broke it and promises to make her a new weapon soon. Hugo lights up right away. A weapon made by Uncle Hugo? Really? I'd love that. Right then Steven pops in and grabs her, saying that sounds great. The three of them freeze for a second and Yua turns to him, annoyed. Have you lost your mind? Why are you yelling like that, idiot? Steven insists he has every reason to be happy. As a Leo Cardinal, Jin Yuri is under his command, and now Jian is offering to make her a weapon. So of course Steven wants one too. He instantly looks irritated hearing that. And Steven keeps pushing until the protagonist is about ready to snap. Then before things blow up between them, a huge burst of power erupts behind Jian. It's a giant goat. Steven blurts out, my god, MC, can you make explosions with your voice now? Is there no limit to your powers? He shoots back, idiot. That wasn't me. The blast then spreads a thick yellow mist across the battlefield, and panic breaks out. People start crying for help, and some of them begin to change. Damn it, what's happening? They turn into mutant beasts with glowing green eyes. What happened to you? Someone shouts. But one of the beasts lunges forward and bites a soldier. No one understands why this is happening. The Leo forces are completely out of control. Leo's squad starts attacking Taurus's people, and everyone wants to know what that explosion was. The old goat answers like it's obvious it was the radiant flash marmot bomb he planted, though he complains the blast was weaker than he wanted. When they turn, they see that rotten old goat in robotic armor, smirking as he says the explosion was only a greeting before the main show. He says all this while holding Lime in one hand. Jian immediately demands to know what he did to Lime, while Steven, totally confused, asks what he means by marmot and if he really planted that crazy bomb where Steven's men were fighting. The old man tells him to stop right there. He says he isn't surprised that every Leo hit by the blast went insane. So this was your doing too, you old goat? Then he laughs and says, just as expected, Jian, you catch on fast. He decides to show them something even more interesting. The old man blows a whistle, and a huge sound wave rolls through the area. At that signal, the transformed Leo soldiers react at once and rush in toward Jian and the old goat. They all grab Yuhua and the protagonist, forcing them to the ground. The old man mocks Jian, asking how he suddenly showed up and handled all those calamities, because surely now he has no strength left to resist. Checkmate, MC. The monsters pin him down along with Yuhua, while Steven glares at the old man. The goat says it's satisfying to see Jian face down and that he never imagined beating him would feel this good. Steven curses him and demands to know what he did to his subordinates. Why aren't they obeying him? The old man explains that Steven, the protagonist, and Yubi never drank his potion, so they weren't affected. That drink he handed out at the start of the fight was actually a drug made to control soldiers. He says the potion Steven's men drank is reacting to his masterpiece, and in their current state, they'll only obey orders given through his flute. Steven roars at him to turn them back to normal. The goat tells him to calm down. If he wants his men restored, he needs to listen to the offer first. Then he throws Jian's sword to Steven, and Steven stares at it. Isn't this MC's sword? The old man says yes, he made it himself. Then he gives Steven an offer. He claims he can't refuse. Take that sword and kill Jian. Steven asks why he suddenly wants the protagonist dead so badly, and why he should obey him. The goat insists he has no choice. Doesn't Steven want his subordinates back to normal? He already felt the gap between his own power and MC's, and the old man himself felt the gap between Jian's forging skill and his own. The more hardship they face, the more they realize how high and solid those walls are, walls they can't cross. He calls this Steven's chance of a lifetime and says he'll support him. He'll forge the strongest weapon ever made just for Steven. If they join forces, they can bring Jian down together. Then it'll only be a matter of time before Steven becomes the strongest of the 12 cardinals. So he tells Steven to pick up the sword and kill him. Steven pulls the blade from the ground, and Yuppie shouts for him to stop, warning that it's obviously a trap. She reminds him that old man can't be trusted at all. Steven keeps staring at Jian. Yuppie warns that if he lays even a finger on the protagonist, she'll never forgive him. Steven walks up to MC. The strongest weapon, the old man urges him on. Finish him. But Steven turns and says, I don't need dirty tricks like yours to get rid of Jian. Unlike you, I'm not trying to take his place with cheap little schemes. He flips the old goat off and he can only watch, impressed. The old man keeps shouting, but Steven goes on, saying he's already surpassed Jian. All he needs is a weapon as strong as the protagonist's. So he tells the goat not to compare him to trash like that. Then he mocks him even harder. How is someone who couldn't surpass MC supposed to make a weapon for him? At this point, Steven is straight up tearing the old man apart with words. The goat hesitates for a moment, but then Steven charges him head-on, smashing his armor and leaving the old man stunned. The goat yells back, telling him not to get cocky, and activates the armor, firing a barrage of missiles at Steven and triggering a huge explosion. He boasts that even Mighty Leo is nothing before his masterpiece. But then Steven literally transforms into a lion and rushes straight at him. Steven admits that 20 years ago he really did have a huge inferiority complex, just like the old man said, but he already got over that long ago. He's tested himself again and again for one reason only, to surpass Jian. Skill. Thunderclaws. He tears into the old man at blinding speed and the armor quickly starts breaking apart. Steven keeps coming, saying Capricorn really did make sturdy armor. Then he rips off the chest plate and throws it aside. He says he fought that calamity without proper gear, so the old man should stop hiding behind armor. The goat is left shaken, and then Jian suddenly cuts in. Hey, when are you two done fighting? Steven stares. Him? How are you here? The protagonist casually says he only let himself get caught to hear what the guy had to say, but got up because they were both being too annoying. Those beastmen were way too weak to hold him. The old goat is left there with Yua totally lost while both of them stare in shock. How is that even possible? Jian doesn't care. He tells the goat to get lost and kicks Steven away in the process. Then the story jumps back a few moments, when the beasts were still holding MC and Steven was arguing with the old man. He was already getting bored while they kept going, and eventually he snapped. This is so damn annoying. He simply starts standing up, and the beast holding him can't even understand what's happening. With a look of total boredom, Jian says, so when are you idiots done fighting? That was the moment he appeared right beside them. Then the narrator starts explaining that 20 years ago, just before the Devil Tower, someone said with a wicked smile, the protagonist will die in the Devil Tower. Jian immediately reacts, that sounds like the prophecy Hugo received from his holy saint. But the answer comes back, that was only a prophecy of the future. This is a real plan to make it happen. The old goat smiles darkly too, and keeps talking. But MC loses patience. He cuts him off, saying he doesn't care about some stupid flashback. He wants to know who tried to kill him, not hear about the old man's past. The goat panics and gives in. He says he'll talk but wants a guarantee that he'll be kept safe. Jian grabs him on the spot and tells the old goat he still doesn't understand his situation. He has no right to negotiate. If he wastes any more time with nonsense, Jian says he'll rip his tongue right out of his jaw. Terrified, the goat blurts out the answer. Virgo. It was Virgo again. That matches what the purple witch said before. When he had grabbed the Saint of Genius, she also hinted that Virgo was likely behind it. So Virgo really is the mind behind everything. The protagonist decides he needs to see Myung again and check the results of the dagger analysis from the attack on him. For now, he lets this part slide, but says it's time to return his stuff. The hammer that guarantees achievements belongs to him. The goat is stunned. You want to take even that? But he gives in fast. The Saint of Capricorn returns the relic, the hammer that guarantees achievements. Jian is satisfied. The Saint of Capricorn trembles with rage and regret over losing the hammer, and MC mocks that miserable look on his face. Then he calls out, "Three brothers, show yourselves." They answer at once. He orders them to take this guy back to their dimension. They can break an arm or a leg if needed as long as he survives. The old goat is horrified, realizing Jian has avatars under his command. Wait, you didn't become a saint. You became the god of a new constellation. The poor guy starts getting pulled away. Take some time to think things over. It's not like I planned to forgive you. Huh? What happened? My head. Geez. The Leo group finally wakes up. Everyone is relieved. Some of them wonder if the attack is finally over. But Capricorn's side is horrified. Their saint is gone. So what are they supposed to do now? For them, it's win or die. So they start using another power through their armor. Something triggers, and they start blowing everything up. Looks like they forgot our saint already sabotaged all their gear. They yell that they'll blow everyone up and send them to hell. Prince, I really don't think you should do that. Hey, fire the marmot shell. The creature launches torpedoes at him. When one comes straight at him, he says, so this is their little toy? Or some other kind, marmot thing? That marmot this, marmot that? What the heck is a marmot anyway? Using the hammer of guaranteed victory relic, you can upgrade or change a target that meets the conditions. Please choose a target. The target will be the marmot. Our protagonist smashes the torpedo head-on with his hammer, and a huge blast of lightning starts to burst out. Target successfully modified. The marmot bomb has been turned into fireworks, and just like that, the bomb becomes fireworks thanks to him. Huh? The marmot turned into fireworks? Damn it. But right then, someone slams a paw on the ground and says, how dare you use us and then throw us away. What's going on now? They came back too? We beastfolk are tough and hard to kill. If that stupid marmot were still a bomb, maybe this would be different. But now it's just fireworks. They can't even scratch us. Wait, please. The guy turns and runs in panic. Meanwhile, Steven gets mad and says he can't let them escape. Do we have any weapon left? Give me something big, strong, and easy to throw. Jian answers, why bother? I'll make you a weapon. Then he looks Steven over and grins like a devil. Actually, I've already got one. Hey, why are you looking at me like that? I've got a bad feeling about this. A second later, Steven starts flying through the air after Jian throws him. He hurls him at top speed straight at the others and gets a full strike as everyone goes flying. Maybe I should take up bowling too. Then he stares at Steven's foot for a moment before dropping the poor guy already knocked out onto the ground. Still, he keeps looking at whatever weird thing is on Steven's foot. At last, he lets go and says, yeah, no, I'm not holding that. Let's not